of Tiverton Town Council for Monday, January 23rd, 2017. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk?
Councilor Perry,
Present.
Councilor LeBeau,
Yep.
Councilor Ryan.
Present.
Councilor Hilton,
Present.
Councilor Shabbat,
Present.
Councilor Edwards,
Present.
Councilor DiMederos is absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Business brought before the council, consent agenda. CA 1A, approval of regular council meeting minutes of December 12, 2016. Approval of executive session minutes, December 12, 2016. Councilor LeBeau abstains, recused. C, approval of regular council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2017. D, approval of executive session meeting minutes, January 9th, 2017. E, approval of joint workshop with school committee and budget committee minutes, January 11th, 2017. Councilor Hilton abstains, absent. CA2, receipt of minutes from the following boards and commissions. A, Cemetery Commission. B, Harbor and Coastal Waters Management Commission 2. C, Open Space and Land Preservation Commission. D, Planning Board 2. E, Prevention Coalition. CA3, correspondence, receive and file. A, Charlestown Town Council resolution opposing the change to the railroad alignment within its borders. B, Warwick City Council resolution to General Assembly requesting multi-unit rental housing be classified as non-smoking. C, letters received from Save Tiverton 10 regarding Tiverton Twin River Casino property. D, write-in letter to Twin River Tiverton LLC regarding insignificant alteration of freshwater wetlands permit. CA4, Treasurer Denise Charette, distribution of budget and revenue reports for December 2016. CA5, Town Administrator, memorandum update on trash RFP research meetings. CA6, Stonebridge Abutment Ad Hoc Committee, memorandum on update and request for council guidance at future meeting. Are there any requests for removal of any consent agenda items?
Madam President,
Yes, John?
I'd like to remove CA3C.
CA3C.
That was the same one I was going to move.
Anyone else? I'd like to remove CA6. Do I have a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda items?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda items.
Do I have a motion and second. All those in favor? Unanimous. CA3C, letters received from Save Tiverton regarding Twin River Casino property. John?
Thank you. Before we kind of dive into this, I don't know if anybody who sent us a letter on this is here, but I just had some questions regarding some of the research that was done to come by this information. Is anybody in the audience one of the ones who sent us one of the letters? No? Oh, very good. Is there, would you be able to come up and speak to the council? No? Okay. Not a problem. I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I did some research on my own, as I had sent to a few people. I did stumble upon a document from the Preservation Society of Rhode Island, because obviously the charge that there is a battle of historical importance to the King Philip War on the proposed site is a big one. But I was able to find a document from the Preservation Society of Rhode Island. It's a study they did many years ago, which details the location of the battle described in the letters to us. And it actually shows the location of that battle on the opposite side of Route 24, nowhere near the site. That's all I had.
Thank you, John. Ms.
Yeah,
Ryan?
so let's see, I think it's the third letter. I just wanted clarification. When it got printed out, it's all blackened on the bottom left. Is that the way yours is?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess, huh? I'm sorry.
It wasn't much better in the council packet. I tried to lighten it up as much as possible.
Does anybody know what it says?
Or who the author is?
I was more,
That one.
so
This one? Yeah.
it's just all black, yeah.
It's
all-
just his name. It was Mr. Harris Gruber that sent that one. It's
And,
his name. He did it on a sticky, so we can't get the
Oh,
color
okay.
right.
Gotcha.
okay, but is there anything, like down here, it looks like there's other comments? Can you read it?
There is. It says, and just as importantly, there are serious environmental concerns to be addressed, both by Rhode Island DEM and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, wetlands, and to be discussed in open forums.
Okay.
I'll
Yep, that-
try to make another copy. She tried. It doesn't come out because it's from a sticky put on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's okay, that was, I just didn't know what it said, so that was, I just wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
John, I just have one suggestion. If you could perhaps photocopy the information you found, and then we can include it on the next consent agenda.
Absolutely.
Just to have the documentation.
Yeah, I'll be sure to send that to Nancy. It was a lengthy report, so I didn't want to, inundate us with even more material for tonight.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Chris. Do I have a motion to approve CA3C?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve CA 3C.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Unanimous. I pulled off consent agenda item 6. This is the Stonebridge Abutment Ad Hoc Committee. I was under the impression that they might be attending this meeting tonight. There's a few items on here, action items for the town solicitor to review the TCSP language. And question on the differences between state and federal funding administration. They want some clarification on that. And certainly a request for the town council to request a budget and accounting for the project so that we can reconcile our internal estimates. So there are some action items on this request or this document, and I just wanted to make sure that the town solicitor was aware that was some actions on here. I think if Mr. Mello would just give us an update on the TCSP document.
Well, we were asking for a meeting with the committee. Instead, the meeting took place or transpired with Matt and only Brett. So we are, and I guess there was a new revised one that was sent over today to be reviewed. So my questions are, again, what's the difference between defederalization and federalizing this loan? And I would like to go over the numbers as well, because that's basically why this committee was started. So the numbers on that TSP, which I don't know if you have a copy of.
No.
Okay.
But if we have a revised one, then I request that it be provided to the council, or actually to the committee,
So
so
we-
they can review it
Thank you.
and get back to us with that information. But I would suggest that it go to the town solicitor to get ahead of the game on that situation.
And one other thing, we're concerned, personally, I am concerned about any more payments being paid out to them until we have a final understanding of this.
So this says we should request a budget and accounting for the project. Who would we request that from? Is that
I
from?
would say Denise, our
Denise?
treasurer.
All right, so we have an action item for the treasurer and the town solicitor.
Otherwise, we're making great progress.
Very good. I just don't want to slow it down, and I thought this would be on the agenda tonight, and wanted to just get at least the action items moved that we could. Thank you, I appreciate the update.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the council on this item? I make a motion to approve CA 6.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Open forum. Open public forum for announcements, comments, and questions. I have Chief Lloyd on the Tiverton Fire Department with the Red Cross.
Yes, ma'am. I asked to do it in this fashion and early in the meeting. I had a meeting today with Red Cross. We are going to be partnering with Red Cross for the town of Tiverton, for the citizens of the town of Tiverton. They are offering smoke detectors, free of charge and installed to any family in the town of Tiverton that wishes them. We're going to put on our website, we'll put on the town website. We're looking for two categories of people. First, those that wish to have detectors put in their home. You're allowed up to 3 in the home. They're being provided through the Red Cross and a donation through Kitty Fire Protection that is doing it. They're looking to do 1,700 statewide. We'll be doing this installation. Right now, we're doing it on a weekday simply because that was a slot that was available for us to step into, which will be March 9th. But we're going to be looking to advertise and get information out, hopefully use the Code Red system to put this information out, and ask for people to sign up. If you wish to have this installed or given to you, there will be a website that you can go through with Red Cross. You will sign up. They have approximately 200 volunteers that are coming in to help with our firefighters to install these in homes. Secondly, that group of volunteers, and I'm hoping that the Purple Project can go a little bit farther. I would really like to see, and I'm planning on being one of them, council members also go out and help with our firefighters and the Red Cross staff to install these in the homes. We're going to be looking for the Boy Scouts, school department, for the schools, the kids who have to do their community service time, to come and help canvass areas and put flyers out and try to get people to sign up ahead of time of the project. But eventually, we want to get as many smoke detectors out there as we can. So again, it's going to be on March 9th. We're looking for that sign-up time by February 15th so we can plan ahead. I just wanted to get that out, and then we'll be looking for more information and sign-ups on the websites.
Now, what day of the week is March 9th?
It's a Thursday, unfortunately. We think we'd do better on a weekend, but I have an assurance from the Red Cross, if requests continue to come in, they will carry the project out even farther than that, and we have committed to working with them to carry it out as far as we can.
All right, so you're going to advertise the town website?
The fire department website, social media, Twitter, we'll put out Code Red, and I have to stand corrected. It was kind of funny the way this was said. There is no charge for this. Oh, wait a minute. There is one charge. You have to tell somebody else about it. So we want you to pass the word along. That is the charge for the smoke detectors.
Oh, very good.
Okay?
All right, so the signups would be by February 15th?
That's what they're looking to try to get an idea so they can have the correct number of smoke detectors and staff available to help us put these into the homes.
All right, sign up by February 15th, and then installation on March 9th.
That's correct.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chief.
I'd like to make a motion to add, at this point in time, the reading of the Town Council proclamation for Project Purple. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous. We'd like to, just since everybody's in purple, with our Project Purple T-shirts, I'd like to read the proclamation. Town of Tiverton Town Council proclamation. Whereas Project Purple, an initiative of the Heron Project, a nonprofit foundation established by former NBA basketball player Chris Heron, assists individuals and families struggling with addiction. Project Purple was launched to break the stigma of addiction, bring awareness to the dangers of substance abuse, and shed light on effective practices. And whereas the Project Purple concept developed when Chris spoke at a local high school in 2011 in front of students wearing purple shirts. After sharing his story, a young woman raised her hand and stood up to speak. As snickering and laughter was heard, the student said, "Thank you, Mr. Heron, for validating what we do. We, the sober students of this high school, and each year, we take a pledge to not use drugs or alcohol." Mr. Heron was surprised by the courage it took to not only stand up and share the symbolism of the purple shirts, but he was inspired to make a difference among adolescents across the United States. Now, therefore, we, the Tiverton Town Council, do hereby proclaim the week of January 23rd through January 27th, 2017, as Project Purple Week in the town of Tiverton, and urge all citizens to celebrate and support the efforts of the Tiverton Prevention Coalition by wearing the color purple and displaying the color purple outside one's home. Adopted by the Town Council, January 9th, 2017. Thank you. Thank you, Sally, for reminding me. It is a great effort, and there's a lot of purple around the town, as well as a lot of flamingos. I think there's some out on the lawn.
They came out tonight to see you. They'll be moved tomorrow to someone's house.
It's a great effort. I thank the Project Purple people and the Tiverton Prevention Coalition for their efforts.
Thank you for the shirts.
Yes, thank you for the shirts.
Thank you.
Public hearings and presentations. 1, Liz Tanner, Executive Vice President, Commerce, Rhode Island, presentation on making business better in Rhode Island. Hi, Ms. Tanner.
Thank you for having me. I'm here tonight to talk about offering that the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation is giving to municipalities. It is an effort to streamline your business registration and licensing process. The way we accomplish that is through 2 pieces. The first one being Lean. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Lean or Six Sigma, but essentially it's process improvement. And so a Lean consultant comes in and uses a whole lot of Post-it notes to say, this is how you do something now. This is how you register a business. This is how you relicense your business. And then they say, okay, what can we do to streamline it and make it easier? Can we consolidate forms? Can we consolidate processes? Whatever that might be. And so the second part of it is customer service training, which is done by Roger Williams University. They come in to do customer service training for town hall employees. The cost is $3,000. The Commerce Corporation pays $1,000. The Rhode Island Foundation feels very strongly about it. They contribute $1,000, and we ask each community pay the other $1,000. It comes with 3 rules. First, you have to create a one-form application for most business registration processes. You create that form, your workers create that based on their experiences. We have 15 other communities who have already done this, created their own forms. We have about 4 or 5 who are in the works right now. You create the form based on whatever your particular needs are. The second rule is that it's the most efficient process possible. What that usually means is that usually the clerk's office accepts the form, and then the clerk's office sends the form to whoever it needs to go to within town hall. And so instead of coming to the clerk's office, filling out a form, writing a check, planning, fill out a form, write a check, zoning, fill out a form, write a check, all depending on what kind of business you have, you fill out one form, it gets sent out. You might still have to do supplemental forms depending on what kind of business you have, but you at least start with one thing, and each of the town hall employees, depending on, again, of who it is, they work on it at the same time, eliminating the need for the business owner to have to go back again and again and again. The third rule is that you review your current licenses and permits to determine whether they still make sense for you. So for example, what I've provided to you is the application, some feedback, and then the last document that I provided you is all of the current existing licenses and permits for every community in Rhode Island. You'll see that Tiverton's actually very good. There are not a ton of licenses and permits. The few that you do have, some of them are a little on the high side compared to others. But some of them are interesting. I thought you might enjoy. You have a dance fee for $2. You are not the community, though, that charges an extra $1 for roller skates, so I thought you would enjoy that. For example, in Situate, they're very excited to get rid of the acceptance of fox tongues by the town clerk. So some of these are pretty dated and old, and they are worth reviewing to see. They come with no rules of what you have to do. We just ask that you look at it and do what makes sense to you. Some of the feedback that we have received is reduction in forms. So, for example, Warwick had 40 different forms. Now they have 1. East Providence had 32. Now they use 1. Most communities have adopted credit card usage so that you can do these sometimes online, or at least try to pay big chunks of dollars at one time. And this is meant for small business. This is not meant for big business. This is geared towards restaurants, pizza parlors, hair salons, things like that. A lot of communities have eliminated or reduced the fees. Some of them have actually upped it because of an inspection, and so they were losing money on some of these permits or licenses. A lot of the communities have eliminated council approval because they were unnecessary for certain types of businesses that were opening. East Providence has calculated that they'll be saving 8 reams of paper a week based on the changes that we've made. Every community has consolidated their yearly fees. So for example, if you have a $10 fee in March and another $15 fee in the summer and another $15 fee in the fall, they've lumped it all together to one $35, $45, $50 fee, whatever you want to make it, which is a huge time and money saver from a municipal standpoint. And the business owner would much rather just pay $50 at once rather than having to spread it across three different fees. I have yet to, the only community in the entire state of Rhode Island that collects emails to communicate with their businesses is Block Island. There are almost no other communities that collect the emails. And so by putting just simply an email address on the form, it's much easier way for everyone within Town Hall to communicate. Emergency services really appreciate that opportunity to communicate with them as well, particularly regarding road closures or emergency situations. And for example, I use the example of Pawtucket because they took the time to figure out what it would take to open up a restaurant before and after. And so for them, the most telling change was in the reduction of the number of visits. But to open up a restaurant in Pawtucket, it was 45 days, now it's 25 or less. It was 11 forms, now it's 4, because there's some liquor license forms, of course, that changed the number of forms. But the most dramatic result for them was it was a minimum of 11 visits to City Hall, and now it's 0. You can do everything by phone or by email if you really had to, although they find that most people come in at least once. So that's sort of just a brief summary of what we're offering. I thank you for the opportunity, and I'm open for questions.
Any questions from the council?
I mean, I don't have any questions per se. I mean, I had the luxury of seeing this presentation once before, actually in a much longer and larger format. But it was at the Newport Chamber of Commerce at one of our board of director meetings, and Liz came down and gave a very similar presentation, and it was one of those things I walked away from and said, wow, I have to make sure that she comes and speaks to the Tiverton Town Council, because there are some significant efficiencies that I think we can realize, and I think for us as a town, making it easier to conduct business and do business in Tiverton is a good thing. So this seems to be an easy pathway to do it, and it's the cost is very reasonable. At $1,000, with Commerce kicking in the other $1,000, and then the Rhode Island Foundation paying the final $1,000. To me, that's a no-brainer to at least take a look at some of our processes that we have in place, and move this thing forward.
There's plenty of room for improvement. I opened a business, took me a year and a half, 400 trips, and a big checkbook. So this would be a good idea.
So this is basically focused on the process at the town hall, what a business owner would go through in order to set up a business.
Just like the licensing process, it doesn't extend into the licensing, the building department, things like that.
So this initiative is focused on business registration and licensing and the relicensing of businesses. It does plant a seed for starting to look at permitting, getting ready for e-permitting, assuming that you're interested in e-permitting, because you can put your permitting process online, but if it's still a clunky system behind the scenes, all you've done is put a clunky form online. So it's a way to introduce the concept of process improvement, and once you go through it, you'll realize that there's lots of ways to consolidate things that you haven't even thought of. And so we introduce this to the employees, because the employees are the ones who come up with the ideas, because they're the ones who do the work all day long. So they're the ones who can say, oh, why can't we consolidate these 2 forms, or whatever they might be. So it's an introduction. Some communities have gone further with it and used the resources to hire someone to do the permitting process. We are actually hoping to be able to offer an opportunity to train one of your employees on this, so that you can come back and lean out as many things as you want. We're not ready to announce that yet, but hopefully we'll in the next month, I'm hoping.
Just so you know, we have made efforts to streamline our licensing process. The town clerk's office has revised forms in the recent past. We have been trying to annually go through our permit fees, licensing fees, so that we are current and evaluate. Actually, we did have this document here as to what other towns were charging, and that did have some impact on ones that we had. But if it's I know November is, well, this council didn't see the whole variety of licensing that we went through, but November is the big month for all of our licensing, and it usually takes at least 2 meetings, and then we have stragglers after that. But it is a huge effort on the clerk's part, the office.
Well, we have tried to streamline the license permit, where we put multiple ones all on the same form, and we do combine everything so that it's all due on November 30th, so you're not coming in at different times. But where I'm kind of seeing where this may be of really help is new businesses, because I see the same person coming in multiple times to get through. We have to send them to the building office, or we might have to send, well, I think it could really, I mean, it certainly could help with relicensing and stuff, but for new businesses, I think it should. So I don't know what the next steps are, but perhaps council will continue the discussion to get something going. Because you would have to, is it through Commerce Rhode Island, is it through your office that we would have to contact to get more specific information and more specific steps to be done?
So we tried to make it as simple as we could too.
Yeah.
The application that I've given you just needs to be filled out, sent to me. You can choose any lien consultant that you want, but I can also refer you to the one that everybody else has used, who's agreed to the price point. And you basically just sit down with that person to figure out how you want to do it. Some people want to do it all in a 1 or 2 week period, some people want to stretch it out, some people want to do half-day sessions, some people want to do full-day sessions. It's entirely up to you how you want to do it. The lien consultant will bill you, Roger Williams will bill you. When you get both of those bills, you bill me, and then I cut you a check for $2,000, and then you pay both of the bills.
So everything you just handed out would have all the applications?
That's it, just the application.
Okay.
And it's really just asking for contact information.
Oh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The to-do would, if the town clerk would review this, and if your recommendation is that we move forward with this to streamline our process, certainly any process improvement is very good for our new business owners as well as our existing businesses.
And I encourage you to talk to the other clerks, so Portsmouth, Little Compton, East Providence, Bristol, Warren have all done it. Barrington just started.
I will get through to the Clerks Association. I'll try to put it back on the next council meeting.
Because if it's only $1,000 and we can improve the process with a little help from our friends, may well be worth the effort to undertake this.
I would encourage you to maybe get a new business or, you know, some of your local merchants, or whether it be a chamber or not, just asking their experience involved as well. That tends to build some nice goodwill as well.
Very good. Great idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Next item is Chief Lloyd, Tiverton EMA. Request approval to submit draft multi-hazard mitigation plan to the Rhode Island EMA for state review. It was previously distributed at the last council meeting. Chief.
Madam President, thank you. Sitting with me tonight is Bill Tavares, the Volunteer Deputy Director for Tiverton EMA, and Carissa Lord for VHB, who has helped work with us for about the past year and a half on this whole entire project. And what we have tonight is a brief overview. Randy, you had asked, you really don't have to turn around. I have in front of you is a handout that will have everything on it. That will be on the slides.
Perfect.
Okay. This is part of the process, and Carissa will explain the whole process to you and what we're going for. This was the draft that was given to you a week or 2 weeks ago to look at.
Chief, did the projector go to sleep?
I don't know. So again, this has been a lot of work. If you'll notice, there's an appendix page, and they will tell you all the committee members. This has been a group effort with a lot of work. This all has to dovetail into the comprehensive plan. This has to be a document that really needs to be part of that plan. lost it already?
Yep.
My apologies.
Technology.
That much quicker once we get it going.
Don't worry, chief, I got it right here.
You got it there in front of you?
Yeah.
If you can.
All right, oh.
There you go.
All right. At the risk of trying to.
Can't see what you're doing.
Ah, there we go. Okay.
Right.
Takes a master's degree, apparently. My name is Carissa Lord, and pardon the poll here. I think it's quite appropriate that I'm here this evening. We have a nor'easter coming up the coast, and I've been working with the town of Tiverton to work on helping them reduce their risks from flooding, hurricanes, nor'easters, earthquakes, tornadoes, all those fun things. And I just want to go through this process with you on what we've been doing as a group and our next steps. We're not requiring anything to be adopted this evening. This is for your edification, and we'll keep you posted on what we do for the next steps for this. So the purpose of this was to update the town's previous hazard mitigation plan and to minimize the social and economic loss of hardships resulting from the natural hazards. We're specifically looking at natural hazards for this plan. And the big thing that's going to hit the wallets is that it allows the town to qualify to apply for pre-disaster FEMA grants. Without a FEMA-approved plan, the town is not able to apply for funding that may become available. And they also, through this process, they identified goals, and the goals are to come up with and implement actions which protect the lives and property of Tiverton's residents and the critical infrastructures and facilities, and also maintain the cultural, historic, and natural economic resources of the town. So it does not take just one person to do this. We had an excellent committee. I've worked with many towns on the same process, and I was very proud of this committee for being so involved and participating throughout this whole process. These are some of the people that served on the committee that showed up to, we had 6 meetings from February to May 2016, and everyone showed up with enthusiasm and with ideas to help move this process along. And so, again, we couldn't just work within the confines of, these great people. We wanted to find out what the public thought about hazards and flooding and where their streets flood. And early in the process, we put out a public survey. You may have seen it. It was a while ago now, I apologize. But we had 91 responses to this public survey, which was great. And that helped us provide more information and help gear our efforts in writing this hazard mitigation plan. We found people are most concerned about snow, blizzards, hurricanes, tropical storms. They identified a myriad of streets that they find flood on a regular or not regular basis. 50% of the survey takers, had taken measures to make their homes more disaster resistant. And 46% may be in favor of spending tax dollars on mitigation projects that benefit the entire community. These are the hazards that were identified by the group and also by through the public survey. It's a lot. We also crossed this with what is in the state hazard mitigation plan, because the purpose of the plans is to make sure everything is dovetailed, as the chief mentioned. hurricanes, nor'easters, lightning, hail, drought, extreme temperatures, brush fire, winter weather, earthquakes, not so much, but it's in there. Flooding and dam failure, tornadoes, and high winds. So these were all addressed with their vulnerabilities, and we looked at, okay, these are what we're concerned about. What are they going to affect? The committee came up with a extensive list of critical infrastructure and community assets that they want to make sure they're addressed in improving the resiliency of the town. I won't read it through, but it's basically your streets, your critical response facilities, businesses, schools, stuff like that. So by identifying these, then we can move forward to create actions. But we say they're at risk. What does that risk mean? Well, we looked at the population and it's where it's located. We figured out, we saw that less than 6% of the total land area is in the regulatory floodplain, which is good news for you guys. You have about 315 structures in the floodplain. And then we're like, all right, if Hurricane Carol were to hit again, what would that look like? Just as metrics to sort of help bring something hard and fast around your minds. So that's what we looked at. Hurricane Carol, the same track, same wind speed were to come up the coast and hit Tiverton. You would only have like one building totally destroyed. You would have a lot of debris. You would have 27 buildings moderately damaged, and there's a description of what moderately is. So the committee agreed that, okay, yeah, this could be bad if it's flooding, if it's hurricane, small to big. So we needed to come up with these actions, and not just, yeah, we're going to elevate a road. Like, that doesn't help for a planning effort. We had to identify the action type, if it's pre or post disaster. What priority were we giving it? Is it a high priority, low priority? And there I've defined what we decided those meant. Who's going to be the lead on getting this action done? Who's going to help support it? What are the financing options? Just saying, town money. That doesn't help. Identify where that's coming from. How much is it going to cost? That took a lot of time to figure out how much some of these projects are going to cost. It took a little bit of math, and it's an estimate. No one's going to hold anyone to it. It's an estimate. So when grants become available, someone says, oh, Chief, I got $15,000 to give you. What are you going to do? You can go through, find an action that is already been approved around $15,000 and say, okay, we would like to do something like this. The time frame. How long is it going to take you to accomplish these things? Short, medium, long term. And the benefit of mitigation actions. Okay. 25 actions across the gamut of things. From older projects, which is like Old Stone Bridge, to newer projects, to readdressing things that were in the old plan. So we came up with a lot of different items, and we ranked them on their importance for the town. If it's low, it doesn't mean the town doesn't care. It just means there may be things that may be other actions above that are easy to implement. So we've developed these actions. We have all those details. What are the next steps? This is the second to last slide. So. If you have any questions, comments, I will gladly take those tonight. You can forward them to Chief Lloyd, who graciously will send them up to me, and I will incorporate any edits you have to the longer version of the plan, which is on the town's website as well. If you haven't taken a look at it, please do. Once we feel that all of their comments have been incorporated or addressed, then the next step is to send it to the State Emergency Management Agency for them to review. After that, it's sort of out of our hands in terms of how long it takes, honestly. The state, depending on their priorities and what's coming up down their line, I know they've tried to get a turnaround for 45 business days, but sometimes if there's a disaster, they get deployed, or it could take a little bit longer. So then we will send it to the review for the state. I will work, and Chief or whoever else I need to employ will work with the state on their comments and their edits to make it a stronger plan. Then once the state says, okay, this is good enough, you guys did a good job. Send it up to FEMA. FEMA needs to go through it, hopefully with few edits, once we go through all the state edits. And then FEMA will conditionally approve the plan, saying, it's good enough for us right now for the next 5 years, but you guys need to adopt it. And that's when Chief Lloyd and myself will come back and ask for your adoption, formal adoption of the plan. But one thing that I like to do when I work with communities is to show you the plan before it gets sent up to the state, because it is your town. And so this is sort of a courtesy this evening, and to take any questions you may have.
Any questions from the council?
Yeah, I had
Ms.
a
Ryan?
question.
Yes.
So, when I read through it, I mean, I thought it was an impressive piece of work, but when I read through it, it constantly refers to the comprehensive plan of 2005.
Yes.
So I didn't know, it's almost like a leapfrog thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure you
Yes.
realize it's like
Yes, ma'am.
the 2017 is just about done. How's that going to affect, is it easy enough to switch things?
Right, we can edit that in. At the time, we hadn't seen how far the new rewrite of the comp plan had gone.
Right.
So we had to work off of what was there at the time.
That's what I thought.
And we knew there was some work in it, but we had to reference the active document at the time. When we go forward, we're sure that's one of the things that's gonna come back, where is the new comprehensive plan? We haven't seen that to know how to incorporate it, but
You haven't
these
seen
two
it?
projects come together.
Yeah.
We've seen bits
We've
and
seen parts
pieces.
of it, but it
Okay.
hasn't been, you don't have an enacted final comprehensive plan,
Right.
correct?
Correct. It's
Right,
come back
so
from
when
the
we're
state and
referencing a
stuff, yeah.
document, I
Yep.
think it's safest to reference an adopted plan.
But they know
not
that
a
it's going to
draft.
be,
Yes,
that
ma'am,
there is a
yes.
2017. And I
Yes.
suppose, yeah,
I have reviewed it, and
Yeah.
it is hard to sort of incorporate, things as they move along. But this
well, I
plan
was
gets
hoping it
updated.
wasn't that many changes you have to make, is it?
No, well, not so much on our end. I
Yep.
mean, because we only have a few references, I
Okay.
think, so it won't be that many changes.
Okay,
I think the comprehensive plan would benefit from also having some of these elements in it as well. I didn't do a side-by-side comparison, but
Okay.
that's something, these plans are updated regularly. So if you don't get it this time, you get it the next time.
yeah, that's
So,
exactly
yeah.
what, yeah, it was just like, it was 2005, so that's like,
By the time this
That's
plan,
all-
you see it again in front of you,
Yeah.
no doubt it will have the actual reference
Okay.
in there of the adopted.
and what about, is this something that the planning committee should see? Should take a look?
I
Because
believe it was it circulated
they've already
to them
seen,
yet?
they've
Yeah,
already,
we've had it out on the
Yeah.
website, we've had it out, we've put it forward.
so they know about it.
I could ask Mr. Harding, I think he was there, I'm sure they do, but
Okay.
again, I have
Well, 'cause you
spoken
said
to him.
that should be incorporated in the comprehensive plan. You're suggesting that this should be
Absolutely, they
incorporated.
have to go together, specifically when everybody looks at the comp plan and says, this is our roadmap for going forward.
Right.
This is one of the bases for this roadmap going forward, because we're identifying those things that are gonna damage critical infrastructure and the economy of Tiverton if we don't pay attention to these.
Right.
When we go forward looking for federal funds for projects and such, they're gonna come back to these documents and say, have you identified this as one of your core values that need to be taken care of?
Yeah.
So they're very important.
Yeah, no, I realize that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's working together.
We're trying hard.
Sometimes that doesn't happen, so that was
Yeah.
that was all.
We're trying.
Yeah, no,
I mean, yeah.
you're fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council? I just have a couple of things.
Just
Oh, Tricia?
Chief, on the priority list, is this priority list, does...
On the 25 actions?
Yeah, on the 25 actions.
Okay.
Does the
Page 72,
ranking,
Chief.
does the ranking relate to a grant application, meaning something that is ranked high on the priority list might be more likely to receive a grant than something that's ranked low on the priority list?
no.
In other words, do you submit...
Carissa's gonna say no, I'm gonna say that I think it's dependent upon the value that we put on it. And when we go forward for the grant, to say to them, we've identified this as a
This as
high priority
being high on
project,
our
and this is why
priority
we've
list.
moved it forward. Not that FEMA will look at it and say, well, on your grant, on your document, it's number one. I don't believe it's going to be that, but I think it gives us validation to push harder for it, to say that we've identified this as a critical aspect.
Yeah. By having it in the plan, it already elevates it, and you become, you're given extra points when it comes to submitting a grant for FEMA. So they like to see that's in the plan.
So,
And the priorities may change tomorrow. So this plan can be updated as frequently as necessary. It definitely has to be updated every 5 years.
I am a little curious about the Nonquit Pond Bridge. The last time our former DPW director spoke about that bridge, and it was probably 2 years ago now, he said it was in extremely poor condition. Yet, that's a bridge that, you know, the school buses traverse every single day. And I don't really know architecturally what would happen if we lost that bridge to the dam at Nonquit Pond. So I'm a little surprised that something as fundamental as a bridge would be on the low priority list.
I don't remember right offhand how we addressed that. I'm not sure if Mr. Bellucci was here for all of this conversation. So without that documentation on the upper end of this, when we got towards the end of it, we had some difficulties filling that one in. But yes, he has said in the past that that is a critical bridge. I've seen the photos from underside of it.
Maybe that is something we might ask our new DPW director to find the file on.
We certainly can take that comment into effect and look at that.
I might ask that if our new DPW director might find the file on that and review that and discuss it with you as to whether or not it needs to be, what its condition is and how much more it's deteriorated.
Yeah, we definitely welcome that.
Chief, is it safe to assume that perhaps the bridge wound up being low priority because the areas that you would normally access by that bridge, you can access from other roadways?
I'm sure we took that into consideration, that there were other ways to do it, that, yes.
Like if Pond Bridge all of a sudden washes out, well, no, now we're just going to go Nonquit,
Right.
you know, by the Nonquit school there, so,
I think that would be a fair assessment.
okay.
Not that we don't think that it's important, but when we
No, I'm
were
not saying
ranking
it
it,
isn't,
we were
but-
looking for the expertise to fill in, and I don't think we had that at the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I do have a couple of questions. I see on page 60 that you have obtain and review mitigation plan for inland fuel terminal, but I don't see it here. I see review mitigation plan for Algonquin gas.
We have asked for Inland Fuels their hazard mitigation plan for their facility, and they have not provided it to us yet.
Okay, so I was expecting like this list to match this list in your presentation. So is there just, should Algonquin be here as well as inland fuel?
Algonquin would also not give us their hazard mitigation plan. They all claim that they're proprietary and that they take it on a case-by-case basis. I've talked to the regional management because Inland Fuel is run out of New Haven, Connecticut, is where their main shop is. And when I talked to Westwood, which does Algonquin for this area, their main headquarters are out of Texas. And when I asked for their hazard plans for this, they basically told me, well, we can't give those out to you, but we take them on a case-by-case basis, and our management team will arrive and help you solve it. So we're kind of left on our own to try to figure where to go with these things.
And that could just be an oversight. I'm looking at on my side.
On your slide?
Yeah, on obtaining and reviewing. I mean, what you said was correct, but to make sure the charts match up.
Yep,
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
because I think both are important.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
And even if they don't give you the mitigation plan, they could at least give the, what their expectations are for local, for the local police and fire in order to support their plan. Because if we don't know how we should support their plan, how do we get that information?
That goes back to we've been trying.
Certainly, we've been trying, but if you need additional assistance, maybe we can put other resources to bear to get that information, because we really do need to know how to respond to it.
Agreed.
You know, you have
Absolutely.
to know. And you may need to get more help on that. This plan is great. I see a lot of the items here in your action list that we've been trying to accomplish. They've been on list of things to do over the past 6 years, and so I think it's good. I think we've made progress on some, but not to completion. One thing I also noted was the map. Interesting that it's less than 6% is flood. Most of that is in the Fogland and the Nanaquacket area. Very little is on like the
Yes.
western side
Yep.
of the town, which was interesting. That it was basically in our
Where your populated areas are.
not where our populated areas
Right,
are.
right, yeah.
It's in South Tiverton, which was very good. I also discovered that there was one more dam than I realized in town, so that was good. I'm like, I didn't know there was a dam there. So that was interesting. Also noticed that you have, some of our schools are not located in the right spot.
I think when we borrowed this map, this came from the Rhode Island EMA website that they have with all our mapping on it.
Because the Ranger School has moved.
Yeah,
Right.
the full plan, I think, has the up-to-date information, correct? Or is that still off?
That's incorrect. That's why I'm
Oh,
bringing
okay.
it to your
Oh,
attention.
I thought you were referring to the
It's the
presentation.
same.
Okay.
Right.
They're
It has the old
inaccurate.
Ranger School
Okay.
on Stafford Road as opposed to.
Yeah,
Correct.
we're aware of that. I'll
And I
make sure
wasn't
that's-
sure whether the Nonquit school should be on here. Is it only schools that are operational that should be on this list?
Yes.
Okay. So that was my only comment. Probably the map just needs to be
Yeah,
updated.
yeah, well,
But thank you for I didn't know that there was a dam near Eagleville Road. And I did do more research on it and found it's a dam on Sucker Brook. So that all works in together. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to have a motion for approval to submit this draft multi-hazard mitigation plan to Rhode Island EMA for state review.
Madam President, I'll make that motion to submit the multi-hazard mitigation plan to Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency for state review.
Do I have a second? Having a motion and a second, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, and I'd
Thank
also
you. I
like,
appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
and I'd like to make sure I thank every one of the members that have worked to get this there. We still have work to go, but they've done a lot of work to help get this where it is.
This is very
So thank
good.
you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Thank you.
Item 3, Tiverton Arts Council, Barbara Pelletier, chairperson, purchasing a projector and screen system for council chambers.
Hi, thank you for having us. As you know, the Arts Council is sort of struggling along and wanting to expand the arts out of just putting pictures on the walls here, because frankly, there are not enough artists that submit pictures. We had to pull this month out of the hat, sort of, because we only had 3 submissions. Now, nevertheless, to give you a little bit of background, why we can offer you a PA video system is, a couple of years ago, I raised money for when we had Where in Tiverton, those contests, and the initial goal was to be able to have enough money to, for instance, offer a helicopter ride over Tiverton or something like that. And then it really never caught on, so we discontinued. And we have this kitty, thanks to Tiverton Power, Bay Bank, and Newport Bank, of just slightly over $1,300. And Chris had this brilliant idea that we can expand into the 21st century by having video. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Good evening, councilors, Madam President. I'm Christopher Gerlich. I'm a member of the Tiverton Arts Council. So once I joined and realizing not just one form of creativity, which is paintings or sculpture, we could perchance attempt to host a film festival. Something that could maybe, bring more people into Tiverton, highlight our community, and that kind of thing. Hopefully to get student filmmakers involved in presenting their student films, to really work on that. And so in order for us to even move forward on that, we would need the hardware, somewhere to have the film festival and show it. I think logically, the town hall makes sense, at least for the first year, if not the first few years. So we've discussed purchasing a screen and projector system. Hopefully that can be permanent here in the chambers. Where is, of course, up to your discretion. More likely behind you, Madam President. And I think also it would benefit the town council. I think when we look at the visual aids that many presentations bring, sometimes they are too small. I know, I believe you got a written statement from me. I mentioned the longplex behind Councilor LeBeau. It's quite small, and if you're in the audience, you can't really read much of that, and things like that. And I think actually our prior presenters just made my argument easier with their screen and projector system, technology, issues aside, because I do think that helps create more buy-in when audience members are here, so that they can feel part of what's going on, which I do think is just important from a community standpoint. So yeah, we'd like your approval to move forward in purchasing this. I know in the past we have looked at some private companies such as Best Buy and things like that, but I do believe that the town itself has a vendor for technology, so we do need your help in seeing how much that would actually cost.
And actually, Best Buy would also, if we don't have one, Best Buy will send in one of their geeks, and they will assess I talked to them, and they believe it's doable for the amount of money that we have, and it's going to be not a manual, but a go-down screen behind you, and then a projector type of.
Yeah, so that it's not obviously up all the time, so it can be hidden away when the council's not meeting, or any of other boards, budget planning. Many of them might need the use of PowerPoint or something like that as well.
Okay, I just have a few questions. Will the power support, will the ceiling support that type of endeavor?
I believe if need be, we could reinforce this drop ceiling so that it could handle the weight. And then, where there's a will, there's a way, because the ceiling itself isn't terribly heavy. In terms of our power supply to the building, I think we're more than adequate.
Okay. So basically what you're asking for is like a projector that will retract into the ceiling?
So yeah, the screen and then projector either
projector.
up there or, to be able to place here-ish. So.
Actually, Brett Pelletier had looked into that for us, and he talked to the supplier that you usually have, and he said it was doable with the angles that we have of mounting, etc.
Okay.
So hopefully it can happen, and
Okay. Now, this is just a question for Tony. On the agenda item, it was not necessarily asking for approval. Now, this is, you already have a budget for this within your own.
We have a discretionary account that we would like
to use this.
To use this for, rather than dribble it away on nothing. That is absolutely no good consequence at the end.
All right, so this would.
And it can expand our soliciting artists and, of different media to give presentations.
Well, you
Like
could-
younger people would
Yeah,
probably.
and if I may add, it won't just be exclusive for Tiverton Arts Council uses, since the other boards and commissions and yourselves could obviously utilize this.
Madam-
It's our gift to the town.
It's not coming out of the municipal budget.
No,
Correct.
it's not. Exactly. Budget committee, rest assured.
Yes, John?
Yeah, Madam President. I mean, if they're proposing that they're gonna write the check, they're gonna pay for the installation of this thing, do we even need to approve it, is the real question. I mean, this is a building.
It's your building.
I mean, it is our building, but I would assume that somebody in the maintenance department could just say, okay, put it up there.
There is, there is an offer that you accept this gift. So I think that the proper motion would be, based on the language that you have in the agenda, to accept the Arts Council's offer to install a projector and screen system in the council chambers.
In that case, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the Tiverton Arts Council's generous gift to install a projector and screen in the town council chambers.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous? And it's, and I
Thank you
can
very
see it
much.
for multiple, even if you had a photography showing, you could use
Yeah.
it at that as well as film, student films. It might be part of the senior project, so there are.
That's my hope,
as well as
to pull from.
using it for meetings, maybe not even just for the council, but for planning board or whoever meets here.
As a matter of
So-
fact, the March, April show that goes in April, that's gonna be somebody's senior project from the high school. And
Excellent.
other high school members are gonna be in here in March. So we're trying to branch out, but have it limited, not limited, but more or less focus on Tiverton and its artists, rather than trying to beg people from the outside to come in and hang on the walls and that. So
Great.
it's-
The outreach to our students in town is great.
If I may, Madam
Yes.
President, who should we contact with, for going through the vendor, anyone specific?
The town administrator.
If you guys run short on money, let me know. I'll kick in. Sconnet River will kick in, whatever you need.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, guys.
We do appreciate this. Town council sitting as a board of licensing, non-advertised licensing, manufactured home elderly community license renewal. Country View Estates continued from the November 14th, 2016 meeting. At that meeting, we did a 60-day renewal because there were some issues, and have those issues been resolved?
In the process of being resolved, attorneys retained by the company to work on those issues, which is straightening out the encroachment over the lot line.
Yeah.
And also the cul-de-sac needs to be built as approved by the planning board. So Attorney Hollins here tonight explained what the remedy is gonna be in the process forward.
Okay.
Good evening.
Mr. Holland?
Thank you. I represent Country View, and I want to thank the board because it was on the last meeting, but Nancy graciously got us moved to tonight. I was away out of the country. Country View that owns it now is a new owner. They've just taken over in the last year. What they have is assigned areas. They're not lots. They're assigned areas. They're 6,000 square feet for these homes to go on. They are getting ready to put a couple of more homes on. During the course of this, they found out that somebody in the past, not us, instead of having the houses like this, put it like this. And when they did, that went over onto another lot. Okay, so when they came in to the other lots, they found out this was done. They came voluntarily to the board to fix it, okay? The bad timing was simultaneously with them getting this done, it was licensing time. And under your ordinance, you have to send something to the planning board for them to okay it. Well, we can't okay it because they got a plan to fix it. So, and it all happened in a very short period of time. The bottom line is that, yes, there is the as-built dry cul-de-sac is more shaped like a pineapple than a circle, so that there are these two slivers that are not blacktop, and those will get done as soon as the concrete plant's open and we can get blacktop. The other issue is that it's bigger. In other words, the turnaround is bigger than it has to be, but the planning board, Mr. Russo said that's not an issue. It can be bigger, it just can't be smaller. We have never received any complaints from the police department, the fire department, the building inspector, the public works. We've never received any citations or anything. This is something we brought and that we're going to fix. So I didn't want anyone to think that we got caught with something wrong. We were the ones, we found out and we're going to fix it. But what I was here to ask for is if we could get another 60 days, because we have to get the plans together. And the only issues that are an issue really are getting the concrete plant so we can get the concrete to get it in there because they're closed. And secondly, the new plan has to go to the planning board, and between now and 60 days, there's only one shot that we can get in, and that would be in the March meeting. So we don't have a lot of time to get the planning board to look at this. And they don't meet more than once a month. And if we can't get on that, you know, I'm gonna be back here asking if we can go to the next month because we can't get on there. But we will get the plans and those things to Mr. Russo. We've already talked about what has to be done. He's okayed what we want to get done. It's just that we've got to get that done and get it on his agenda. So my request is that we get 60 days, if we can, to get that done.
Any questions from the council?
I have a question. According to this letter dated November 2nd, you were tentatively scheduled to go in front of the planning board on December 6th?
Yeah, they were, okay? And that was, what happened was I talked to Mr. Squares and Mr. DeSisto's office, and the reason we didn't go was because the plan was not one that could be approved, because the plan showed the encroachment on the lot line and the wrong semicircle. So what we did is, you know, after discussing with Mr. Squares, he suggested that we withdraw the plan without prejudice. So we withdrew the plan, and there's no plan, so there was nothing to go for. We told Mr. Russo that, and that it stopped, okay? So there was nothing, the planning board wasn't going to approve the wrong plan, so it just didn't make any sense to go.
Joe?
I was just curious to know what Mr. Russo's recommendation would be. Does he have any problems with doing what he suggested, or?
No, we discussed it at length for the last, actually, couple of months. He's gonna submit a new administrative subdivision plan, changing the lots, no more than 4 lots, no additional lots are being created, but he's gotta change a lot line to eliminate the encroachment, and that'll be fine. As far as the cul-de-sac goes, I'm talking about it has to be built exactly as planned. Okay, so that's gonna get cleaned up at the end of the cul-de-sac. We reviewed the plan and land evidence on Friday, and he knows what he has to do. So we're gonna go back to the planning board for both of these approvals and bring them up to date and get the approvals when the plan's completed.
Is someone here from the planning board? Mr. Hardy? Good. I just have a question for you.
Stu Hardy, Chair of the Planning Board.
I know you're overwhelmed with activity on the planning board. Is 60 days enough time? That's one planning board meeting. If there's any type of weather, it could be continued. Are you comfortable with having this done in 60 days?
I am not. We had 2 meetings of the planning board in December. We may have 3 meetings of the planning board in January because we've got the casino and we've got another huge project called Tiverton Heights, or temporarily called Tiverton Heights, as well as all of our regular business. So I cannot guarantee that we can get to this in our March regular monthly meeting. I know that we can't get to it until March, but if weather shuts one of our meetings down, then everything gets pushed to the next meeting. And I think just to be on the safe side, it might be smart to go for 90 days rather than 60.
Okay, thank you, Stu.
Madam President, I have one other question. On my agenda, under B, is the building and zoning official recommendation, but I don't have that in my packet. Was there a recommendation from the building or zoning official?
Madam President, that was a continued item, and originally, the zoning official was going to come, but I carried it forward with that on it, but there was no written response on it. And now it's to be continued. I didn't.
Thank you, Nancy.
And again, there's no notice of violations because it's being worked on. It's in front of the, coming up in front of the planning board.
Correct, and that's what the advice was based on, to allow for these self-reported violations to be corrected.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd like to have a motion to renew the manufactured home elderly community license for Country View Estates for 90 days, subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to renew the license for the manufactured home elderly community, Country View Estates, for 90 days. Subject to meeting all legal requirements.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Having a motion and second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Could I inquire, you mentioned the building inspector, there's nothing we've received from him. Is that something that Nancy's office or the council, who gets the building inspector to do what here? In other words, are we gonna get a letter, or how does that work?
Once necessary plans are filed, they'll be reviewed by the building official. That'll be in conjunction with the planning board action.
So there's nothing we have to do to get, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Advertised public hearing for license renewals subject to meeting legal requirements, December 1st, 2016 to November 30th, 2017. Junkyard and secondhand dealer license renewals, subject to meeting all legal requirements, continued from the December 19th, 2016 meeting for General Auto Recycling, Inc., 384 King Road. Request license for 0 King Road, Lot 602-112. I believe the solicitor has some information on this item.
Yes, Madam President. The licensee, General Auto, filed a lawsuit on last Wednesday in Superior Court, and it's a declaratory judgment action. The case is NC 2017-0026. In connection with that filing of that lawsuit, there was a hearing on Friday morning in Superior Court. General Auto requested that the status quo remain and that no actions be taken until the court decides the declaratory judgment action. As part of that request, they did agree to an accelerated briefing schedule in this. The matter will be decided on briefs. There is a hearing on Friday to determine when the briefs will be filed and when the court will decide the case. I anticipate that being in the next few months. This matter is on for executive session also, and I'll go into more detail about the elements of the case.
Thank you. So at this point, there's no action to be taken on this particular item.
That's correct, yes.
And it's not continued because it's taken a different path.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. Moving on to appointments and resignations. Appointments for tree warden, annual appointment to January 31st, 2018. John Manchester, 2970 Main Road, request reappointment. I don't think John's here. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Manchester as tree warden.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor? Opposed?
I can't vote, he's my cousin. So I gotta,
Is he your first cousin?
unfortunately.
We need a recusal form. We have 6 in favor and 1 recusal.
5 in favor.
Oh, five in favor, sorry, and 1 recusal. Oops, let me make a note of that.
Just put at least 2 of them in this packet every single time.
You send that to my secretary?
Uh,
I mean, you.
Next item on the agenda is zoning board of review. We have 2 vacancies for alternates. Their annual appointments to 7/15/17. We have an application from Peter Mello, 1912 Crandall Road, request appointment. Mr. Mello?
Hello.
Hi, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like this appointment?
Lived on 1912 Crandall Road, been in town for over 10 years. Was a former member of the Conservation Committee, former member of the Town Council. Participated in the loopy meetings held by Matt Bojack and attended some smart growth Rhode Island classes to understand the zoning and planning. And came in front of you because I understand that you guys need some help on the board, so I'm here to volunteer.
Any questions from the council?
My understanding is that the zoning board right now, being without any alternates, is having trouble with quorums. Am I correct in that they have had to postpone the last 2 meetings?
That's correct. The zoning board by statute, in order to have a quorum, it's not a simple majority. 5 voting members have to be there, and that was, with their current makeup, they couldn't do it in December and in the January meeting, so you're correct. They've missed two of their monthly meetings.
Well, in my opinion, this is a fortuitous event that Peter's applied, because I think he's got a lot of experience with planning and zoning and certainly knows the regulations, and it sounds like we don't want to have to continue to put people off who need to get zoning relief, so it's a happy coincidence.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Peter Mello to the Zoning Board of Review as first alternate for the period, appointment period through July 15th to 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Congratulations.
volunteering.
Good job.
Thanks.
Casino Subcommittee, 3 members of the public. Just a question for the solicitor. Should we perhaps address the new business item G1 at this point?
Yeah, I don't, although there was no objection to having public members on this committee from the memo on G1, you might want to address it anyway.
Yeah, I think we should address
Yes.
it now. Do I have a motion to move up in priority to this point in time, G1, amendments to the Town Council resolution adopted on December 12th, entitled Resolution Establishing a Subcommittee to Address Issues of the Casino in Tiverton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Jeff Karen and Nancy Driggs.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Jeff Karen. I'll start by just saying, how did we get here to this point right now? And it's my understanding that the casino subcommittee was either created or amended, I'm not quite sure which one it was, on December 12th of 2016. It was shortly after the election. And the agenda for that meeting on December 12th referenced a red line copy of a document. Mrs. Driggs, who's filed this agenda item with me and sitting here with me, filed an APRA with the town clerk to get that document and it appears as though there is no such copy available to us. But the clerk did provide 2 resolutions, and the first one was from January of 2016, and the second one was the December 12th, 2016 resolution. And upon reviewing that, in the last short couple weeks, we see numerous problems with the structure and the purpose of the casino subcommittee. So just to sort of take that history and blend it into why are we here now is it seemed logical to come before the council, I'll say informally, as opposed to a formal charter complaint situation, to try to work through the wrinkles of the casino subcommittee. It probably, a vote of this town council could resolve the matters so that we can avoid that other process, and that would obviously be a good thing. So that's the history, and then what I'm going to do is present number 2, which in the agenda item, let me back up a little bit, and for the people at home, in the agenda item, there were 9 different issues discussed in the agenda item, in a title, in a document dated 17 January titled Potential Problems with Casino Subcommittee. And I'm going to discuss number 2, whose title is Usurping Budget Process / Charter Violation Various. And Mrs. Driggs, when I'm through, will discuss the remaining items, numbers 1 through 9 without 2. That being said, Article 3, Section 301 of the Charter delineates that the budget process, delineates a budget process for the town and does so in a way that balances the power between the government entities and the electors. There are certain groups in town that have ballot access, every elector does. There's people who have input along the way in that budget process. I think we all know it quite well. Per Charter Section 4076, that's parentheses 6, it says, any office, department, or committee so established shall conform to the provisions of this charter. And so I think that there's I mean, that's clear. The Casino Subcommittee resolution contains the language, quote, developing a plan for apportioning expected revenue from the casino hotel development in its purpose. So it's explicitly spelled out that that is a charge of the Casino Subcommittee. Such purpose of the Casino Subcommittee is improper and usurps the charter-defined budget process. And any casino subcommittee function that plans the apportionment of the casino hotel revenue is not conforming to the charter, and specifically it doesn't conform with the process that we have in Article 3. And also the various other articles of the charter that discuss powers and duties for the council and the budget committee and whatnot. So it appears as though from that standpoint that 407, Section 407.6 is problematic. And I'd also like to touch on Section 1218, which is titled Use of Town Resources to Influence a Voting Contest. The town charter is a single document that contemplates a town council, it contemplates a school committee, it contemplates a budget committee, it contemplates a town administrator, it contemplates the FTR, and it also has in it section 1218. So in a single document, the town charter, all these government bodies, entities exist, okay? And there's a balance of power that is created here in this approved charter. The town charter does not contemplate a casino subcommittee that usurps the budget process. So unless its purpose, meaning the purpose of the casino subcommittee, is amended, the casino subcommittee amounts to an extra prong of the government created by the town council, not by charter, created by the town council, that plans for the casino hotel revenue apportionment. This amounts to government advocacy not contemplated by the charter and outside the normal budget process. Such planning by this town council created casino subcommittee will clearly influence the subsequent FTR votes. And it's a clear violation of section 1218. In summary, for my section, which is number 2, the created purpose of the casino subcommittee is a convenient means for the town council to plan, lobby, advocate for certain use of the casino hotel revenue that is not contemplated by the charter and is in direct violation of 1218. I'd now like to turn the microphone over to Nancy, who would like to touch on the remaining items in the agenda request, and then maybe then discussion.
Well, I think maybe we should take one at a time.
Yeah.
So we'd like to.
Could I
review-
just ask one quick question? Because I noticed it wasn't in the handout. Do you all have what we filed to be put on the agenda, including the attachment that shows the
We have a 3-page document.
You do? Okay,
Yes.
okay, good.
In looking at the structure of the resolution, and just addressing number 2, I note in the Charter Section 301B1C, and this is for the budget proposals that shall include, this is for the budget proposals, the dollar amount to be raised by taxation, including maximum dollar amounts for the motor vehicle, real and tangible property, and resulting total property tax levies. And the reason that I say that is that there's going to be revenue streams coming from the Twin River Casino. There's going to be a real estate tax, and there's going to be a tangible property tax on the gaming devices that will be there. But one of the revenue streams is the income that will be derived from the gaming revenues themselves. And that's not part of the tax levy specified in the charter. And I would note that under Section 703(3) of the charter, the Budget Committee is required to provide the electorate with budget recommendations which balance the value of the proposed goods and services with their costs in taxes. So you've got one significant revenue stream that will be coming out of the Twin River Casino that is not a tax. And I would also note under Section 407(1) and 2, the town council serves as the policy-making body of the town. And I say that because that's a policy question for the town. It may well be that all revenue streams coming from the Twin River Casino will go into the general fund. But for those non-tax revenue that will be coming from there, I think it's a legitimate question for this subcommittee of the town council to do some due diligence on and make some recommendations for the whole council to take a look at. And I think that's the thrust of that part of the resolution.
Thank you.
Madam President, may I ask a process question before you go further? In listening to Mr. Karen, Mike Burke, Durfee Road, and in reviewing some of the documents, it sounds like there's an attempt to do something informal, but also a threat to come back with a charter violation if you don't do what they're requesting. So my process question is, if you continue to listen and deliberate this tonight, as opposed to it coming before you as a charter violation, by that deliberation, are you putting yourself in jeopardy to be able to hear any charter violations?
Good question.
I'd like to ask the solicitor on that one.
Because we would be sitting as the Charter Review Committee, but if we're the ones who are in violation, then
The matter, that a violation, charter violation can be filed against the town council. That goes to the municipal court and then to the Superior Court after that.
Okay.
But on the other hand, there was a request, it's on the agenda, so it needs to be heard.
So if at any point you will entertain other people's opinions, I'm welcome to give some.
thank you, Mr. Burke. Certainly, I'd just like to make a statement. Certainly, this resolution was put forth to bring people together, informal manner, get input from different folks, the public, other, the school committee, the budget committee, to be inclusive of everyone. I don't see that as being an issue. I think it's trying to be inclusive, trying to get people's opinion, rather than 7 people discussing it, to have an ad hoc committee, which is, has a limited duration, it has a specific purpose, and it's to gather information, and then present that information in a logical fashion to the rest of the council. So, and I have to say that the town council is the policy-making body, and we have in the past taken action on pay-as-you-throw. We made a policy decision to use the revenue from that stream and put that into a restricted account for the landfill closure. So it was for a specific purpose. So we want to take careful deliberation on this revenue piece. Certainly the revenue from the normal tax that would be on the building, the tangibles, the real estate, would follow the normal process. But the gaming revenues certainly presents us with a unique situation. And the more people who have input, the better I think the town council can make a policy decision. So that was our purpose in doing this. It was to help with the next steps that we need to document and put forth, so that we wouldn't take up a lot of town council meeting time, where we would have people waiting for our decisions on other issues, and having late night meetings, which become counterproductive. So this was to, basically, to gather that information, and not just on the revenue. That was one topic, but the host agreement, which I believe would be, the host agreement would be an ordinance. Correct?
Be partly ordinance, partly an agreement. It'd be 2.
So it was to gather that information and become educated, and to also help the public get educated. And I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. So I think you've answered, from our standpoint, what is involved in number 2. And I certainly clarify that to be the gaming revenue stream, rather than any tax or property tangible taxes. That would be, certainly would go to the general fund.
Well, I'd just like to say that we have a power plant in town that's under a tax treaty, okay, not unlike the casino, gaming revenues, and those appear every year in the calculation of the tax levy, okay? The amount of money, the $700 and some odd thousand appears every year in the calculation of the tax levy, and that money lowers our tax levy. So although I heard what the solicitor said, and he misspoke a couple times, I believe, when he called it a tax revenue, because it is not a tax revenue. It is a revenue, okay, which is going to, which is available, that comes into the town, and which offsets the taxes in the town. Now, if the town council,
Excuse me, you mind just backing off the mic a little bit? Thank you.
yeah. So I guess we're just going to have this discussion now that there's a bunch of people voted for the casino, and now we're finding out that the revenue from the casino, that there may be a plan in place for the revenue from the casino, the gaming revenue, which is $3 million, may not be entering the general fund to lower taxes, but may have some other purpose designated by this committee, okay? And I'm just saying what I just heard. I see a smirk on Counselor Edwards' face.
Excuse me, don't get personal.
Okay, but, yeah, that's what I see. But I just want to say, I'm hearing that now, and I just believe that the charter is clear that the budget process is in place, that this is a revenue line item, just like any other revenue line item, and I think that this committee is not wholly improper, because there obviously are things that would be very helpful for this committee to do, the host agreement, all these other things. It's the position of Nancy and I believe that eventually a whole bunch of townspeople, that this committee should not be opining on the use of the gaming revenue. The budget process will do that, okay? And that's where, I mean, now that we've got the conversation to this point, that's where the rubber meets the road, I think, in this discussion. This is an issue of where's that $3 million going to go, and is there going to be another prong of the government to direct that to someplace other than the tax calculation? And I think that's at the bottom here. I know that's one of the strong reasons I'm sitting here at this table now, to represent this concern I have from just these few words that were inserted into the language for the subcommittee.
Madam President?
May I respond?
By all means, Councilor Hilton.
Mr. Karen, this ad hoc subcommittee of the town council is purely exploratory. I'm not even sure I would use the word advisory. Ultimately, the town council will need to make decisions. But we're not the first community on the history of the planet to have a casino. There are communities all over the country who have faced this very same issue. So there are issues of how one appropriately and best manages the revenue. And no one knows in the end what that will be, but we've got to start and investigate it. There are other communities who have built host agreements. There are other communities that have looked at police and fire resources. So by creating a group, a subcommittee of the town council, as well as hopefully a group of interested citizens who are willing to do some work and to do some research and to bring their experience to bear and to look at what other communities have done, we can identify some best practices that put Tiverton in the best chance of being successful here. But you speak of this as though this is a body that has some sort of regulatory power or authority. It's really an exploratory work committee to help identify what, best practices might be that Tiverton might want to adopt, not just in terms of revenue, but host agreements, police, fire, the permitting process, all those kinds of things. To me, that's a good thing. Collecting as much information as possible and finding out what the best practices are out there is entirely a good thing.
Thank you, and thank you for those comments.
Excuse me? Mr. Edwards?
Yeah,
Some comments?
I was going to make a comment similar to along the same lines as Counselor Hilton, but I did just want to remark that my smirk was not geared towards some nefarious purpose. My smirk was merely towards Mrs. Driggs pushing the microphone away from your mouth. That's all.
So it wasn't on content.
I wasn't trying to shut him up.
No, I just, it was, he kept inching closer, it was getting hard to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, thank you.
Um,
Mrs. Hilton?
Are you still speaking?
No.
May I? Thank you. So, to that, Mrs. Hilton, I just will make two comments. First of all, that Tiverton has a budget process, which is the financial town referendum, which is an outgrowth of the old FTMs we used to have. And that process may or may not be quite different than processes in other towns that may have had to address casino revenue, where maybe the town council plays a different role and there is no financial town referendum or direct vote by the people. The second point I'd like to touch on is what I just heard you say, that this is an ad hoc committee and that it's not a formal regulatory type of committee. So we want to explore and we want to look at what this, what's a use for this revenue. So then I would ask in those lines that the amendment be made, an amendment be made to the resolution that the casino subcommittee will not be recommending, opining, or putting forth I'm going to use the word recommendation, that this is what happened with the money, okay? If that's all this is going to be a bunch of people who are going to go out and do work and are going to research, and we're going to come up with a bunch of possible uses for the money. That's different than a vote of this committee, that makes a recommendation, to say, we believe this money should be used in this way. So I ask you if that's something that you would entertain, is limiting the scope of this subcommittee so that it does not take a vote to promote a certain use of the money, rather it be a research arm.
Mr. Karen, the committee, they don't have a vote. It's
Oh, yes,
input.
they do.
No, they don't. The council has the vote. They're there to let us know their feelings, their thoughts about what's going to happen. The committee has no vote.
Okay, so if that's true, then can we amend the language to make it clear? And that may resolve a bunch of the other issues
Okay,
that
hold on
Nancy's
one
going to
minute.
speak with
Tony, am I
about
right?
voting rights.
Yeah, I thought I was. Yeah. Just making sure for once. Hey, somebody take this date down.
I want to go on
Thank you,
record
Randy.
as agreeing for once with Councilor LeBeau.
Okay, so we just established that this casino will not take a vote. So I will extrapolate to say that it's not going to make, it's a casino subcommittee, sorry, thank you, will not be taking a vote. That, I assume without a vote in government, you are not making a recommendation. I know on the budget committee, we take a vote, we make a recommendation. So can we limit the scope then to not be opining and recommending?
I'm getting a little worried that we're trying to narrow the possible discussion items down to, what's a recommendation, or we looked at these 4 things and we don't, think this is a great, I mean, we're not trying, I don't think it's fair to try and box this subcommittee into a legal corner where if someone uses the wrong word, we're gonna have a charter violation. But as Councilor LeBeau said, this subcommittee does not have any regulatory authority. They can come back to the council and tell us what they've learned, and maybe they will recommend something. Maybe they will say, in this particular, when it comes to the permitting, this is what we think might work the best for Tiverton. Is that a recommendation? I guess so. When it comes to possibly discussions about revenue streams, they may come back and say, here are 4 communities and how they manage a revenue stream like this. Or they may not. But the committee doesn't have the authority to enact anything. they're there to provide the council information and to sort through, some of the issues so that the decisions that the council has to make, we'll have all the information in front of us that we need to make to make those decisions.
More suggestions
And
than
suggestions.
recommendations.
I have no problem with everything you said. You used the word permitting at one point, and that, in the vein of permitting or wetlands, that type of thing. I'm speaking specifically to number 2, which is usurping the existing budget process. And specifically to, I guess we've now lowered it to the gaming revenues. I'm speaking specifically to that. I understand and fully agree that there are very bona fide purposes for the subcommittee outside of the gaming revenue, and that's why in the agenda request, it's proposed, the language that I proposed had strikes and deletions on the paragraph for purpose.
Just for clarity purposes, rather than just saying gaming revenue, it should be non-tax revenue. Because there's gonna be tax revenue coming out of there, significant amounts, and there's going to be non-tax revenue.
Mr. Karen, the council, we don't want taxes. We're not looking to waste money. We're not looking to take that money and get rid of it. We all want lower taxes. It's how we get there is where the problem's gonna be. This town is overtaxed. We're not gonna take $3 million and go waste it. That's not gonna happen. Not from where I sit. I speak for myself right now. So you're sitting there saying, we're gonna waste that money. That money's gonna come in, this council's gonna throw that money away. And that's not a fair, it's just not fair, you don't know.
I didn't say the council. I'm talking about the casino subcommittee and any recommendation they may make on that.
They have no
They have no vote.
power.
They have no vote.
They're not going to decide what to do with the money, Jeff.
Are they gonna recommend?
Are you
They're
putting the cart
strictly
before the
going to make
horse?
suggestions from where I see it, is they may come in and suggest where this money should go, but they're not going to take any vote to where that money should be.
Properly
With
spent.
any vote as a recommendation either, or an opinion.
Right, a suggestion is what I.
It's discussion is all it is.
They would suggest the money should go here or go there, and then we would decide.
Okay.
if
But
it should go there and vote.
Jeff,
right.
the
I just
council
see
is
that
going
as,
to
I see
decide.
that as creating an arm of the government that lobbies for a position.
There is no lobbying going on. If I had my
if
way,
the-
anybody on this casino committee, anybody can't even get a job there, can't work there, can't do anything there for 5 years.
So
And that way, that'll put that away for you. No.
Off
You-
topic.
No.
Okay, sorry.
So the
Madam
thing is,
President,
Wait a minute.
Can I just say, with all due respect, Mr. Karen, I mean, we are discussing something that is supposed to be inclusive, as Madam President already stated, and we're creating a way to get your input. I would imagine that you would be with one of the people from the Budget Committee who will be, the ambassador to this ad hoc committee. And it shocks me that you've come to the council in such a hostile way, alleging that we've already made decisions on revenues that we're not going to see for 2 years.
I'm just going to be blunt about it. If the casino subcommittee makes this casino subcommittee, and for everybody at home, includes a member of the school committee, includes members of the public who are about to be appointed by the council. If you do the analysis on the full suite, I think 10 of the 13 positions on this casino subcommittee are controlled by the town council. Mrs. Driggs will discuss those matters. But the bottom line is, I can clearly see this casino committee coming forth and saying, we recommend that, we've spoken to a lot of people in town, we had all these public meetings, we recommend that the casino money go a certain way. And then I can easily see the town council saying, well, we have this wonderful body called the casino subcommittee with a whole bunch of public input, they did all this work for a year and a half, and my, oh my, we should probably follow that vote. And I believe that is really tainting and usurping the existing budget process. And that's the bottom line, is I view this as a lobbying entity.
You
That's
need
why
to
I
start
brought
your
up,
story by once upon a time. You keep going on.
Randy.
I bring this up as a 1218 issue also, for this reason.
Can we get the solicitor to just weigh in one by one on these items and tell us if there is anything in this list so we can end this never-ending discussion that keeps coming back to Mr. Karen's accusations that we're already spending money that we're not going to see for 2 years.
Which list are you talking about?
The whole list, the document you guys
May I
submitted.
be heard then, because
Wait,
I'm
wait.
addressing other parts of it that I'd like to be heard on?
Mr. Burke.
Madam President, thank you. If I may give just a very brief alternate perspective and alternate opinion, because absolutely what has been presented to you thus far is the opinion of two people. So this is the opinion of one person at this point. I have no idea if anybody else agrees with me, but I'll give you an opinion. One is that this in no way usurps the budget process and in no way is a lobbying entity. Section 1218 is not intended to keep any town body, whether it's an appointed body or whether it's an elected body, from doing their job. And part of your job, as the solicitor identified and you identified, is to set policy and to think about strategic planning and policy and to be forward-thinking. Now, is there a budget process as well that goes along with portions of that? Absolutely. And you can't set the budget. Nope, you can't. And I would disagree with the solicitor on one thing, is I don't think this should be limited to just the non-tax revenue. I think it should be looking at everything and making suggestions, because you know what? You might come down to putting your own resolution on the FTR ballot. That's okay. That's within your purview. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. If there's a charter review commission, you might make some recommendations to the charter commission to do those types of things. That's within your purview. It doesn't usurp anybody else's authority. It doesn't usurp anybody else's power. So, in essence, I think that's the main issue. Is remember, please, that right now you're listening to the opinion of two people. I suggest that there's no need to make any modifications to your resolution. I think you put a lot of time, energy, and effort into it when it was originally made, before the casino was voted on, and then when it was updated to look at what's the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Good. Could I be heard?
So I will take the advice of Counselor Edwards, and we can go through each of the items.
Could I
That's number
please
one.
address, I'm
Yes.
addressing them, all right, in the
Please-
way I plan
please
to.
proceed.
It won't be long, and I need to be heard. Just to be clear, so everybody knows because a lot of people don't have the resolutions. The January 2016 Town Council resolution, which started this casino subcommittee, said that the membership, and this is important for what I'm going to talk about, shall consist of A, the town council president, B, 2 other members of the town council, C, the town administrator, D, the town solicitor, and E, a state representative, John Edwards, ex officio. The December 2016 resolution, as amended, or I guess it's an amendment, says that the members will be the town council president or her designee, 2 other members of the town council appointed by the council, 2 members of the budget committee ex officio, 1 member of the school committee ex officio, the town administrator ex officio, town solicitor ex officio, and I want to make it's my understanding neither the town administrator nor the town solicitor are Tiverton residents. State Representative John Edwards, ex officio member to serve as liaison. 3 members of the public, ex officio, which I assume will be appointed tonight by the town council, and the town clerk. So that's the way right now the membership goes. So my first concern that I'm addressing of potential charter violations in these 2 resolutions, as a background, I would like to say the casino subcommittee created by the January 2016 resolution has not complied with the Open Meetings Act. It was not listed as its own entity on the Secretary of State Open Government website, and per my APRA request, I found out they only held 1 meeting on April 14. So minutes of that meeting were never ratified because the subsequent meeting never occurred. Furthermore, the town council's own policy, number 2012-1 dated January 2012 states in paragraph 7, minutes, boards, which that policy indicates includes boards, committees, and commissions, are required to maintain minutes which comply with state open meeting laws. And paragraph 10 of that regulation, your own regulation or policy, under reporting, says board chairs are expected to present a summary report, verbal or written, through the town administrator to the town council at least one time annually, which should generally summarize the events of the prior year, pending initiatives and goals, or expected actions in the coming year. This casino subcommittee that we're talking about falls in the Group C type of committees spelled out in your policy 2012. And as such, its summary report was due July 2016. And to my knowledge, again, based on my APRA request on January 11, 2017, was never done. So the public had no way from July 2016, when the summary report should have been filed, which would have included pending initiatives or expected actions in the coming year. The public had no way from July 2016 to that December 12th, 2016 amendment, changing the purpose language, adding the new language to develop a plan for apportioning expected revenue. They had no way of knowing that this was coming down the pike. So that's the first thing. Secondly, my other concerns of charter violations all involve questions of the current language dealing with memberships of this committee, both the January 2016 and the December 2016 resolutions, in contrast to what the charter requires. Specifically, I'm referring to sections 701 of the charter.
Hold on a minute.
Yep.
So for item 1, open meeting that. The ad hoc committee is on the Secretary of State's website.
Now it is. It was added after.
It was posted on the Secretary of State's under council, because it was just a subcommittee of the council. So that, we just used that to get it going. And we never met other than that one time. Where draft minutes were always available, and then at the end of the council term, I just put them on the council docket to at least accept them in, because some of the members were not running for re-election or whatever.
But just to make clear, it's still a subcommittee of the town council. But after the December amendment, it now does have its own listing on the Secretary of State website.
Okay.
So it is
So
being
we're-
treated differently.
But this December one, yes.
Okay, so we're fine with current process. Okay, continue.
Okay, so,
And I just have one comment. I think Denise did give a verbal report on the one meeting that occurred, that she chaired.
well, I didn't get it, and I assume the
I think it was
report
part of
is,
the- just a part of a meeting.
but I assume it should be available to the
But
public.
those minutes were in draft form. They weren't accepted because we didn't have another meeting, but they were available. And they
Okay.
were available the day she came in, and they were put on a council agenda.
I have a copy of the
October.
minutes, the draft minutes. I did
Okay.
get a copy of the
All
draft
right,
minutes.
so are we have any issue here? Okay. No. Okay, continue. We're on vote.
Yeah,
item
now
number
my
3.
concern, mostly dealing with membership in charters, section 701, 1011, 1011, and 1213. Section 701 specifically says it's under Budget Committee duties. Budget Committee members shall hold no other town position. Section 1011 states that members of boards, committees, or commissions must be electors of the town. And it goes on to say that no members of boards or commissions, as listed in the charter, shall be elected officials or employees of the town of Tiverton, except as provided in 1213. 1213 is sort of an umbrella section that says in relevant part that no elected member of the Tiverton town government shall hold an appointed position at the same time.
So,
So, can I just finish quickly? Or, it's short, I don't have. This casino subcommittee, a body formally designated by town council resolution and subject to the Open Meetings Act, is another town position whose members are in fact appointed by the town council. So whether the subcommittee is styled as ad hoc, advisory, or as a working group, it appears this subcommittee should not include budget committee members, school committee members, town council members, or the town clerk. And then chapters 10, 11, and 12, 13, already discussed, indicate that the casino subcommittee shall only have public members who are electors of the town of Tiverton. In matters involving Tiverton matters, non-residents or non-registered Tiverton voters should not be members, giving them equal votes as Tiverton voters. This would exclude, it would seem to me, the non-resident town administrator and town solicitor DeSisto. Further, it is unclear in any event why any state rep should be a committee member, as they were elected into state office, not as local officials. Excuse me, I have a cold. And why, in particular, State Rep John Edwards alone is being named putatively ex officio to this casino subcommittee, as Tiverton has 3 state senators and 2 state House representatives. Should this resolution
but there's only one senator and one representative that is encompassed in the casino. Their district encompasses the casino. There's only one senator
But they're being,
and one
but they're
representative.
being asked to be on a subcommittee
Madam President?
representing all of Tiverton.
I mean, I believe, looking at the original resolution, that he was there as a liaison to the state. This is a significant state project. I'm sure that they're going to want to know what's going on. And furthermore, to that point, he's also the ranking member in this district. So by default, he would be the person
But I
from the
think
state
that's-
level that would interact with us.
But I think that's a decision that the state level should make. I think we as a town, it would make more sense if we asked the state representatives, whether Senate or House, to appoint liaisons. Maybe they would
We
appoint.
can ask them, and it would come back the exact same way, because, again, he's the ranking member, so
Well, you're also
when our
his son
delegation.
talking for him, so.
I'm not speaking for him, I'll make that very clear. But
know
when
you're
the
not speaking for
When the
him.
delegation comes to the councils, it is traditionally the ranking member from that from that area, from that town, that will speak to the councils. In this situation, that would be, yes, my father, Representative Jay Edwards.
Okay,
you.
and
Thank
the
you,
bottom
John.
line is,
Continue on.
bottom line, should this resolution of December 12, 2016 not be amended to have only Tiverton electors as members of the subcommittee, the result would be that for the named non-residents and non-Tiverton electors and a state representative basically would have equal rights as the Tiverton electors in matters purely local to Tiverton. That's basically my argument in terms of the potential charter violations, especially involving public officials holding other appointments.
But Nancy, does that even make sense? The town solicitor has to go to a planning board meeting.
As liaison,
Wait, I'm actually going to agree with Ms. Triggs on that. And it's not because I want to take nights off from meetings. However, as the attorney for the town, I'd be there advising the group rather than being a member. You know what, it probably makes sense to knock me off.
Okay.
So I agree with you on that point.
Thank
I
you.
do.
But I want to make sure that you will still be there,
Yes, yes.
and you can advise
And
the
you should-
subcommittee.
You should knock Matt off, although he should attend in his capacity.
Yes.
As town administrator to advise, so he doesn't get the night off either.
Okay.
However, Nancy is in a different position, although you might want to just, you know, Nancy wants to go, make sure there's OMA compliance and everything, so she can stay on. That's number one. Number two, your 3 state senators, they can't serve on this because they're not town residents, just as you said. So it comes down to your 2 state representatives. I actually agree with Councilman Edwards, you want to go with your ranking guy. That's that there.
I would just, can I just I would feel more comfortable as a town person if the request had come from the other way around, instead of naming him from the start. If the request had been to the state representatives, you both live in, we would like to have one of you serve, and maybe he's right, and it would have been John Edwards, but that's not the process that happened.
I know, but my recollection is he's the one that volunteered. However, I have one other suggestion based on everything that I've heard. Because I've done some research on this ex officio business. And, you know, I actually looked to Robert's rules, and the definition out there is persons who are members by virtue of some other office or position. And so the ex officio designation should probably be deleted for the public members, but remain for the other members that are there by virtue of some other position.
Could I ask how that squares with the other sections, that no elected official, budget committee members are elected, shall hold appointments in any other position in town? Town council the same.
I think this goes to the heart of the assertion that we heard from Mr. Karen, which carries over to what you said, and that's the nature of this body. And the question is whether or not this body has some type of authority that qualifies it as a town position. And the answer is no. This is really a working, I understand you don't agree, but this is really a working group to get some information together. So I don't think it rises to the level of what you're talking about, just based on the virtue of what the resolution is asking them to do. And I know you don't agree with me, but that's the position.
Mr. Solicitor, if I may, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we originally established this, the town council is not appointing specific people from budget committee or school committee. We're asking for volunteers. So wouldn't that eliminate the hurdle of being appointed to another board? I mean, we're only going to appoint the people from the public.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So if this is just a working group, okay, when we have when we have a workshop per se, we don't take votes at a workshop. We only do that at meetings, official meetings. This is getting back to a little bit what we discussed when I spoke, but now we're coming back to this again through voting rights and these types of things. We just removed 2 people from the subcommittee. So the subcommittee is not going to take votes. We just said it was treated like a workshop. We heard earlier it doesn't have any voting authority. So I would like to, I want a clarification on that, because that's a big deal in terms of, you know, this whole topic. And also, related to that, if they can't take a vote, then any recommendation or opining I understand maybe gathering research and doing work, and here's 5 different things, but recommendations and opining would not have a vote behind them. On the use, I'm talking specifically on the use of the revenue, the gaming revenue.
I'm looking at 4 of the December resolution. The subcommittee shall report every 2 months to the town council, setting forth its achievements, projects, and goals. Almost certainly, votes would need to be taken to say that these are the achievements that we've done, the projects that were undertaken, and our goals. So I do think a vote has to take place, but that's only in connection with a report to the town council every 2 months.
Okay.
Could I also just quickly address something Councilman Edwards said? The language is actually specifically different. Under Section 701, it prohibits budget committee members from holding any other position. It doesn't say they have to be appointed. And as opposed to 1213 was no elected member of the Tiverton town government shall hold an appointed position. So that has the appointed language in it. The budget committee prohibition does not. So
The ex officio takes it out.
Do you have
Just
something to say on
in
this
terms of
item?
the voting versus non-voting, I think, if I remember correctly, when you last discussed and passed this, the discussion was that the only voting members would be the council members.
Correct.
And you use the term, Tony, ex officio, where, for clarification purposes, if you're going to be amending it, ex officio technically does not mean you're a non-voting member, if you look at Roberts.
That's correct,
So
yes.
you would, if you wanted the other members to be non-voting, you might just want to clarify that. But I don't think there's any other prohibitions, as you would say.
You're correct on Robert's rules.
So I heard that we could have a vote of the subcommittee in order to approve the the document or the report, which is to the town council of the achievements, projects, and goals. And we've limited it to that now. Now, can we have language that restricts an opinion or recommendation on the use of the gaming monies?
You mean non-tax revenues?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, is this body going to be allowed in its report to the council every 2 months to recommend the use of the gaming revenues, the non-property tax gaming revenues? Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
That's a policy consideration. So don't ask me.
Oh, I understand. I'm looking at you because this is where the dialogue started. But the bottom line is that we've now limited voting down to the promotion of this report to the council. Okay? So now my question becomes, is there a prohibition on this subcommittee opining on the use, recommending the use of the gaming revenues?
Didn't you, what don't you get? Honestly, what don't you get? The 7 council members have the vote. That's it. You're wasting your breath and you're wasting our time.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. We have the vote. Everything else is input. That's all we want from the town, from the budget committee, from the school committee, is input. End of story. They have no vote. That's it.
They can provide a report to
provide
you that
anything
makes
they
a
want. That doesn't
recommendation,
give
and
them a
you're
vote.
creating that governmental body to do
we are
that.
not. You are so wrong. Just trust the council.
Okay.
We're elected for a reason, okay?
So-
We're not gonna go waste the $3 million.
Okay, so my concern is that this government body is going to make a recommendation about the use to the council. That's my concern. And if the
Thank you,
council's
Mr.
not going to
LeBeau.
take action on that, or amend, or do something to get rid of that, then just say so.
Wait a minute. I'd like to thank Mr. LeBeau for his comments. That's okay. You need some sugar. All right, so you've brought up some situations here that we need to make an amendment, or some amendments to this document. I will proceed to ask the town solicitor to make those amendments, and we will have it on our next meeting. Is that possible?
You will have it in a week. So
Thank
you have
you.
plenty of time for your next meeting.
Very good. So, and all the information that you've presented is in this document, and that is in the hands of the solicitor, and he will come back with his recommendations.
The only thing that wasn't in that document was the section 1011, but I referred to it in the document.
You need to contact
Okay, so this is going to be continued until that point, in 2 weeks.
Right, we at least have to remove the town solicitor and the town administrator from the committee.
And
But
there's
we're
a-
keeping the town clerk because she has to post the minutes and take the
not
minutes.
I think if I don't show up and nobody takes your minutes, I don't know what that does for the open meeting.
Thank you, Mrs. Mello.
I do question, I just putting it out there, I do question, and no disrespect, but I mean, the town clerk in that capacity, is that a voting position or not? I just put that out there.
Of course not, I wouldn't vote, I'm not even
Okay,
gonna do the work.
I'm just, but the document doesn't delineate that stuff.
We will,
So, and the
Have-
policy
have-
question will also be under consideration, at least by the solicitor at this point?
What is this, are we talking about whether or not these people can put a report together that has anything to do with any non-tax revenue?
Right.
I'll refer again to the solicitor. Do we have to worry about this? Is there a charter issue in this?
Make it specific.
Okay, all right.
we'll review your recommendations.
Thank you very much, appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to appointments for the casino subcommittee, 3 members of the public.
Madam President, I have a suggestion with this. It might not work. We have 4. We're looking for 3. Can we amend and just let all 4 of them have their input? Probably get.
Madam President,
Can I?
I have another one, though,
Yeah.
that was received.
Oh, there was? Okay, never mind.
I have another one. It's just,
Forget
it
it.
was received after the agenda, but the deadline was close to the agenda.
Can I make actually a follow-up suggestion? I know you have some people here that you probably want to interview. You also might want to defer that vote to the next meeting, too. In conjunction with your new resolution, you can take a look at the public members that you want, and at that time, I know there's people here to interview, and you might want to do that, but
Right.
for the final vote.
Well, actually, as part of our policy, when we have multiple people, and it goes beyond the number for appointment, we should vote on it at the next council meeting. So I'm not looking for a vote to waive the policy, but to enforce the policy. Thank you.
Enforce the policy of 3?
Enforce the policy on appointments to wait until the next
Oh,
council
okay.
meeting to do the appointments.
I think one of them is also not able to make it tonight.
Very good.
I don't.
So now that there's,
Mr. Smith?
I don't see
Okay.
it, yeah.
now that there's 5, so I back up my statement, so we'll just,
Well, we could change it to 5 if we.
well, whatever you want to do. Sure,
Madam
well,
President, next council meeting, is that the one, the 30th, or is that the next regularly scheduled council meeting? Because we have one scheduled the 30th at the high school.
I think the regular
I just
schedule.
wanna-
So it'll be February 13th.
Okay, just wanted to
Thank you
confirm that.
for clarifying. Or questioning for clarification. Thank you.
Gives us time.
Okay, so continuing on with the appointment process, I'd like to interview Cameron Ramsey, 11 Watuppa Avenue.
Hello, Cameron Ramsey, 11 Watuppa Avenue, Tiverton, Rhode Island, 19-year resident. I'm actually one of the 44.7% of the town that didn't want the casino. I do understand, though, that this casino is coming. On the 2 parts of this committee that I'm more worried about, it's actually the community agreement. Some of the issues that I more would like to focus on is the security, the Rotary, and the host agreement. I've actually read a lot of the host agreements from Everett, Springfield, Baltimore. I haven't read the one from Lincoln. I had trouble finding that one.
There is none.
There isn't any.
Doesn't exist.
That's, well, then I should have said I read that one. Talked to many different state reps and senators about what's going on with the casino also. Talked to a lot of people in this town. I know what both sides of the community want. So I hope we can maybe get both sides to be on this committee.
Any questions from the council?
I just have a statement. Obviously, I bumped into Cameron quite a bit during the campaign trail, and I will say this, that he fully understands casinos, and I think would add a lot of value to the committee.
Very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, very knowledgeable, and certainly, even though he's on the dissenting side, we want that side represented.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Cameron.
We have Houghton S. Smith, MD, 481 Neck Road, who's not here tonight to interview. Next up is Michael S. Burke, 67 Durfee Road.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the council. You have my information and the information I presented, but just very briefly, what I think I bring to the table is 20 years of work doing legislative work for a state agency, as well as other work negotiating laws, negotiating contracts, negotiating between parties who are far apart sometimes when they start dealing with their family issues. So I think that's an attribute. I'm very transparent, and I think all of you probably know that I was a firm supporter of the casino and continue to be. And I want to make sure that it works for the best interest of Tiverton. I think it's great to have Cameron or others who were in the other side of the equation, because I think we do have to have a balanced perspective on how we go forward. I've put forth some ideas about how to potentially use all of the revenue from it. But those are ideas, and I think everybody should have some ideas to come to a conclusion that's going to be best for the town, and that you can use for looking ahead, looking at policy, because I do believe, and I'll say this very clearly, that it is not a wise decision to take all of the money that we receive and put it into immediate tax relief or just into tax relief that is direct. Because there are other ways to address taxes by using this casino money wisely, whether it's capital improvements, whether it's looking at how we can use it to invest in bringing other businesses into town by promotional activities and the like. So I think there are lots of ways to look at how to use this revenue.
Any questions from the council?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Next up is J. Lambert, 85 Sunset Drive.
Hi.
Hi.
Jay Lambert, Sunset View Drive. I've been working on the casino now for a couple of years, and I think my interest is trying to see it come to a final conclusion. At this point, having read the constitutional provisions and the statutes, it seems to me that we do have a casino. We'll have it either in its current location or under the Constitution, we have it as a substitute location. I see this at this point as jobs and tax money. That's what it comes down to for me. We have a town that's overtaxed. We have a lot of people who, until very recently, have been unemployed, and I see that as the positive. In terms of ideas for how to use the money, yeah, sure, I have a lot of ideas that I've come up with over the last couple of years, and they're probably pretty similar to those of Mike Burke. But I'm open to any suggestions. I'm open to researching this. I'm open to taking any information I can get, any input.
Any questions from the council?
I should add that I've favored the casino from day one, as you know, Joan.
Yep. I just want to make everybody aware that there's a lot of reading involved in this process. Lots and lots of reading.
Well,
lots of research. So
can I add that to one of my qualifications? I have a lot of time being retired.
Thanks, Jay. As per our policy, we'll defer any appointment to the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Moving on to unfinished business. Town solicitor.
Excuse me, can I just, is it Nancy, do you connect with the two other people to let them know when, to see if they're available those times?
And we will, if they all here know that will be on the next meeting for appointment.
Okay.
And we'll add that.
But you let them know specifically?
Yes.
Oh,
contact,
okay,
yes.
yep, thanks.
Okay, so town solicitor, RFP for Tiverton code review. Town clerk requests authorization to proceed with the DeSisto law proposal not to exceed $10,000 for code update and rewrite.
You may recall, Madam President, that I gave a proposal as to what I thought should happen for an entire code rewrite. And it seems to me now that the request is for an interim just to bring the code up, get rid of conflicting provisions, those provisions that shouldn't be in there, eliminate what's been deleted, make sure everything's added that should be added. And after consulting with Nancy, and she can be very persuasive, she beat me down to $10,000 to do that, and we hope to get this done in about 4 months.
Okay, so on the purpose, in this document, the RFP, you state, this work would include all tasks necessary for appropriate codification of the town's form-based zoning code. So that is really just to bring that code into the process, as a formal document
It's
into.
not real simple, it's use tables and everything else to go through.
That's a lot of work. So is this update just for that? Because
That and anything else to clean it right up to date.
If you take a look at page 2, identify and delete obsolete ordinances. Delete provisions that are not in compliance with existing state law, as well as adopt ordinance that are required by state law.
Okay.
And identify internally conflicting provisions, if any. So I do think that there's a lot of work in that area, not only dealing with the form-based code, which we would do as a kind of like a fourth onto that.
Okay.
And it's for that $7 would not be more than the 10.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any questions from the council?
Couldn't get them lower. Couldn't get them lower.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor? Unanimous. Financial business, town administrator, discussion and vote relating to maintenance vehicle lease purchase.
Madam President, this truck is ready for pickup, and before we make any final commitment, I want to make sure everybody agrees on the terms. The one thing I want to do is, I wasn't here when this, I was away on vacation when this issue was first discussed. I want to make sure everybody understands. The notion was to lease the vehicle and to be able to escape the lease after 1 year. And the other notion is very important, and that is the vehicle is not a maintenance vehicle per se, the way you would expect the Super to drive up in some Manhattan apartment complex. You know, some jalopy that's got paint all over the side and the rest, and it's just going to bang around and do menial tasks. And looking at the fleet and the configuration of the fleet, we have a number of significant requirements. The maintenance guys pick up all the trash at all the parks during the summer, the parks and the beaches, and bring it all to the landfill and save us a certain amount of grief by being able to stay on top of that process. And when they pull that trash around or pull equipment around, they need to be able to pull a trailer. The other thing is, we have a very aged fleet of large, somewhat too large, very obsolete sander plows. And we find ourselves at a bit of a disadvantage moving around some of the smaller streets, especially in the north end, where we need to do real tight cleanup curb to curb, but our vehicles just simply don't have that turning radius, and they're just not that nimble, so to speak. So the way the truck is configured, it has a utility body for all the tools, it has a hitch to pull a trailer, and a plow. And Chief Blakey did, quite frankly, a fabulous job of getting what would typically be a $45,000, $46,000 truck down to $39,495. The town's option at this point is to have that lease with the buyout, and that would be $14,063, or simply just decide to buy the truck. There would be no buyout at all, and it'd be $10,750 per payment. We'll be making one payment immediately upon pickup, and that was the transfer that was done out of firefighter overtime to support this transaction. And then the budget line item that comes up next year would have to be the appropriate amount. Up until the final quotes arriving from the dealership, we were operating on $11,500 being the lease payment. But as you can see, we've got the final details and the quote from the dealership. So the 3-payment, 2-year lease option with the buyback is $14,063, and the 4-payment, 3-year lease to own with no buyback is $10,750. Just looking for the guidance of the council on what it is that you want us to do.
With the lease, we're only allowed so many miles. If we go over, we automatically own it.
12,000.
12,000. How are we going to do?
Well, the vehicle is never going to leave Tiverton. So I think we're going to make it. When we look at our mileage usage with some of our DPW vehicles in any given year that don't leave town, they're 8, 9, 10,000 miles a year.
I thought originally we said it wasn't going to be used to plow except the parking lots here, the senior center. Now you're saying we may be using it on the streets to tighten up?
I can't legitimize buying a new vehicle unless we're going to put it into service everywhere where it's needed. That's my view.
Because that may add more miles to the mileage.
Right, which we discussed at that meeting.
Which would, void the 1-year lease
But
option.
I think the expectation, Bill, is that we would manage that. And
Yeah, I'll have to. One of the things I'm looking at this vehicle as far as we have one 8-foot blade, one 9-foot blade, and everything else is 12-foot. What I'm finding after visualing my first snowstorm in town is that our big trucks do a lot of damage on a lot of these small roads, and there's a lot of these small, whether it's a private or public roadway. So that truck will actually help me do these small areas and help me like at the library parking lot or help me at other facilities like that. I'm not looking at it to do the main
It's not gonna do a
roads like
route.
we do, but I'm looking at it to do areas that I need a smaller plow, which we just don't have in the fleet right now.
Even if we went over, we need a truck anyway.
Yeah.
No matter how you dice it, we're gonna end up owning this thing.
Well, at this point, it's been approved and ordered, so it's
Right.
sitting there.
Oh, yeah, right,
looking
I'm
for
just
his
saying.
guidance on which note do you want to sign.
Yeah, right, it's,
You want the buyout or not?
yeah.
And with the buyout comes the $3,000 extra on the payment.
I'll be the 5th vote.
So you're basically asking the council to vote whether to proceed with the lease payment or to proceed with a purchase option.
Yeah, I'm asking for your guidance. My recommendation is to go with the more expensive payment, but preserve your options to get out of this lease. I don't think anybody can predict with any certainty where your budget process is going to be 1 year from now. And you might just want to save that $14,000. So I'm not so sure you should commit fully. And the extra $3,000, you know, it's worth it to have that kind of flexibility to save the 14.
To Councilor Perry's point, Mr. Anderson, you know, when we discussed this previously, I have to admit, I have a bit of agita about buying a brand-new, scratch-free truck that we're going to use to collect garbage in and plow in, because my experience is that they don't stay looking brand new for that long. So if we go beyond plowing the little driveways that we talked about, like here, and we put this on the road, at the end of the lease, besides the mileage, is it returnable when it's got a dent or a scratch or the paint job's all marred up from being out there plowing?
It depends on how much damage we do. I mean, if it gets really damaged, we'll have to fix it to return it, or have to pay them so much money back on the part of the lease. However, my intent would not be to use this on the main roads, because,
I understand that, but, you know, plowing in the wintertime is messy business. I mean, it's hard on equipment. And this is a brand-new truck that we're considering giving back at the end of the year. I don't want to not only be able to not give it back if we can't afford it because we're over the mileage, but because it looks like we've used it for plowing for the year.
well, if I could add, our two Mack trucks, our newest two in the fleet, I will say that they actually look brand new still, and they're 2 years old. So, I mean, my drivers do take care of them. I can't say that about 30-year-old vehicles. I mean, they do look like they're worn, but the two new trucks, yeah, you could walk in and they look brand new. I mean, there was one in the shop this morning. They were doing something to Xander, but
Madam President?
Yes, John?
I just want to say, I personally would be in favor of buying the truck outright, and I would be in favor of buying the truck outright because I know what the state of the remainder of the fleet is, and even after the last two snowstorms we had two vehicles go down because they were aging. And, you know, personally, if I'm going to sit here and make a decision to benefit the taxpayers and the residents, I want to look at it and say, you know, not how much it's going to cost, but when the snowstorm hits, are we going to be able to clear those roads so people can get out? And if the majority of our fleet of snowplows is significantly old, that could potentially negatively impact our ability to clear those roads. And, you know, if we can pull the trigger on what seems to be a pretty reasonable truck payment to ensure that at least that vehicle will be in service for quite some time, I think that's a good move.
So this is basically saying a 4-payment, 3-year lease with no buyback for $10,750, and that we own it.
That's right. There'd be no buyout.
And we're committed to this already, to this lease already.
We're committed to the purchase. We just got to
You
decide
committed to
which
at
one.
least the first year of something, because, I mean, we couldn't order the truck and have it
Right.
configured without an
And-
approval.
My question is, the maintenance department, Phil is the one that's going to be using this truck. Is he going to be plowing also, or is it going to be at DPW's discretion who they're going to put in the truck when it's going to be plowed, or is that strictly going to be the maintenance department who's using the truck plowing?
Good question. It's not intended to be exclusively for the use of the maintenance
Okay.
department. And on the roads at night, it would be a CDL.
Well, I didn't know if Phil does that now. Does he go out and plow?
Manny does. Manny has a CDL.
Oh, man, okay.
Yep. He used to all the time, and he would be qualified to do it now.
Okay.
So the beginning of this lease period would be February 1st?
As early as tomorrow, but yeah,
gets
probably
delivered, yeah.
February 1st.
Just a point of organization here. When we started discussing this, this was, Bill and Manny needed a truck for maintenance purposes. And it needed to have a plow because they plow in the area here. And when we committed to this truck, it was back in November, and plowing season was upon us, and we had to make a decision right away because we really needed to get a truck with a plow on it, was because it was November and it was gonna snow. And so it wasn't an option to consider getting, a used truck, because if we got a used truck, we wouldn't be able to get a plow on it. Now it's almost the end of January. Snow plow season doesn't have that much more time left, but somehow we're committed to a brand-new truck. I have to admit, I'm finding it hard to follow the logic of how we're ending up with a brand spanking new pickup truck that was originally requested because Manny and Phil, which I understand, they have an old beat-up truck that is barely functioning and it doesn't run. I understand they need a new truck, but I gotta admit, this is a little,
We need a truck. My opinion, you have yours. We need to be able to get people out. If we got a bunch of crap over there, did you go look?
I'm not disagreeing that
Yeah.
we need a truck, but the reason it had to be this truck, which was brand new, and even though it's a good deal, it's still a brand new expensive truck, was that this truck had already had a plow attached to it. And because this was in November and it was gonna snow soon and we needed a truck with a plow right away. And
Actually, it was December.
Or December, but
It was-
now we are here almost at February. Luckily, we haven't had a whole lot of snow. I know we might get some
Still
more,
could.
but it's just seems to me like we didn't think this all the way through. But it sounds to me like we're committed for at least a year to this truck.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't here to make all the representations, so my apologies. But I heard the truck at some point maligned as just a truck for the guys to bang around in. And I wanted to make it very clear that was never
No.
my intention at all.
The impression we got was that the maintenance department needed this vehicle, and we all agreed that he did need a vehicle.
And they do.
And we were told that it was going to be used for plowing here, the senior center, and the small areas, not to be used on the streets. That's what we were told. Now we're being told something different, and I think we have to consider that if there's a mileage agreement on there and a lease. I think that we have to consider that,
Right, because.
because that's going to get a.
You do have to consider it, but you have responsible professionals who are not going to undermine the town's interests in this. And I'm sure when the odometer clicks to 10.5, we're going to look at where we are in the year and make some decisions about how it's deployed. But,
I
the
understand that, and I feel-
frontline vehicles, the worst thing you can do is take your frontline vehicles and start buying used cars for frontline use. And the
Yeah.
frontline vehicles are the police chief's car, the fire chief, car 3,
Yeah, when-
the maintenance truck.
I'm not
Those-
arguing that point, Matt,
Right.
at all. Not arguing that point
But
at all.
I'm just making it because
Right,
The one thing I do feel comfortable is that Manny's gonna be using it,
it's a Dodge.
and he's in the maintenance department, and I feel comfortable with him driving that truck, not a problem. But to let somebody else use it, then I would have a problem.
We need to start rebuilding our fleet. We gotta get
understand.
rid of the crap. And if we
Well,
start
I
and
understand
the- Just one comment, when, I believe it was Phil who came up and told us, he was concerned about the 12,000 miles, that he was concerned about it going over, but that they would.
No, he said he wasn't concerned because he said what they
Well,
were using it for.
Based upon what, the trash pickup and only plowing town property.
Yeah, he said he wasn't concerned about it.
He wasn't concerned.
He would
It would
be
be
under that.
tight, but
Right,
he-
he'd
he
be
would-
under that.
he would
But
be
now
under
that
it.
we're going to be using it for other things,
Then that
we're
is
going
a
to be over.
different situation.
We could be over.
Then the possibility of it definitely going
Right.
over is increased.
Madam President, we have a town to run. We can't be arguing over a $40,000 truck. We need to clean the streets. We need to take care of all this stuff. If we keep buying junk, we're going to end up with junk.
We're not
Yeah,
arguing, we're just
Madam
trying to.
President?
Madam
Okay, one at a
President,
time, one at a
Get all
time,
facts.
one at a time.
Madam President, could I just throw one fact in the mix here?
Nope.
There are 86 miles of road in the whole town.
That's okay. Mr. Edwards. you have
Yes.
the floor now.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out for the other counselors who are curious, I did a quick search here on Craigslist for this exact truck, and we could buy an 06 for $30,000 without a plow. So at $39,000 with the plow, with the utility body, and the ability to tow, I think that is a phenomenal deal.
Yeah, that wasn't the issue with me, John, at all.
No, I know,
It was
you're
just,
concerned about the
way
mileage.
what we were
Yeah.
told and now what we're finding out. I just want to make sure that, we got all our facts so we know exactly where we're going.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I say we buy it.
I'll second Councilor LeBeau's motion.
You'll buy it, you have to specify?
Are we going to buy it?
No, the option that we're doing?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's, you're
What
talking about
option
the
do you want,
slightly
Randy?
higher
Which
higher
option?
one?
John will do it.
All right, so then I'll allow him to rescind the motion. It'll be make a motion to use the 4-payment 3-year lease to own with no buyback for $10,750 per year, which obviously commits the town to purchase from the onset.
I'll second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1 opposed. Thank you.
Take care of it.
Okay. Next item, Councilor Shabbat, discussion and possible votes on hiring process for town administrator. I went back through with the help of Mrs. Mello and her team to pull together the advertisements from 2008, 2013, plus the minutes of the meetings that we discussed, those advertisements. I have attached Article 5, which is the town administrator part of the charter, which goes through qualifications and duties and powers of the town administrator, et cetera. Because the question was asked, is there a job description? And the best place for a job description is basically the charter. Article 5 is the qualifications and the duties and powers of the town administrator. So this is the attachment A, is the proposed advertisement. The only changes that I made to this was the combined municipal and school department budget of 49 million, up from, I believe, 47 million. I left it at 110 full-time municipal employees. I did get information from Denise Charette. It's actually around 100, so we can change that to 100 full-time municipal employees. That's the only amendment I would make to this. I also put a return date of March 3rd, 2017. Gives it a little bit over a month. Taking into consideration, we need time to get it posted in advertisements and such. The last advertisement that we did based upon the meeting minutes, I believe we went and advertised in the Providence Journal. I can't find it.
That's what it says.
Rhode Island Cities and Town website, and I believe the Fall River paper.
Municipal website.
Yep, that was in 2008. So,
Madam Chair?
any changes? Yes?
Would that also, the advertisement also be in the ICMA website and newsletter?
ICMA?
That's the International City Managers Association.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, it's a trade publication that, people in that profession take a look at.
ICMA, Providence Journal, Rhode Island League, Cities and Towns.
There could be a few others that.
I think
How about just ZipRecruiter?
there are several other websites, particularly geared towards, municipal, state, federal experienced employees. I think we should look into as many of those as possible.
Okay.
Madam President, I have some thoughts on the
Okay.
language. I'm wondering if I suppose the language in a similar requirement is close, a similar environment is close enough, but, in the next sentence where it says Rhode Island municipal government experience, and I'm only asking this vis-à-vis the personnel board. There may be a great administrator from Connecticut or from Massachusetts. Will they not score as highly if we call out Rhode Island experience as being preferential?
With your advertise, the answer to your question is no, but with the advertisement, someone from another state might take a look at that and say, I don't have experience with that particular state, I won't apply.
So should we just strike Rhode Island?
Is it a good idea to train somebody? I mean, it takes a year to learn a job as it is. So it'd probably be a good idea to just have somebody from Rhode Island, maybe I'm wrong, who knows Rhode Island or knows both.
Well, what about, like, for instance, we're right next to Fall River or Westport or Seekonk or Dartmouth. There could be some qualified candidates who do know what goes on.
Absolutely, yeah. So I agree. I'm just saying, if somebody comes from, whatever, Connecticut and has no idea, and they come in and say, well, I don't know Rhode Island, we'll figure it out as we go.
Take it out of there.
I think we should at least look at those applications, right?
Yep.
Maybe somebody from California is not a good fit, but, we at least want to get Massachusetts and Connecticut, possibly the border towns anyways.
All right, so I'm hearing that remove Rhode Island.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
just make it municipal?
and I almost even, I guess it's not the same, but I'll point to, for example, Warren hired Jan Reitzma, who, I don't know how much municipal experience he had, but he ran the DEM, so do we want to cast a wide net and potentially get a really competent administrator who's doesn't have municipal experience but has run a large state agency? I mean.
Well, I have to, and I agree with you, and I can also tell you, Barrington just hired a guy that came out of the Navy. He was a Navy captain.
Right.
He had no municipal experience. But it says desirable.
Right.
And I think that's okay. If you have someone that's interested in local government, somebody like a Mr. Reitzma who, is familiar with the press, he knows that he's got a disadvantage on that, but he has advantages to him, will apply anyway.
Right, so the only thing that's required is the bachelor's degree is required by charter, as well as 5 years administrative experience in a similar environment is also required. Those are per the charter. The next series are desirable, so that becomes a part of the checklist to say, do they have any of this experience? Doesn't preclude them from being considered, it just means that they wouldn't get a check mark saying, yep, they have municipal experience.
So what if we said municipal or state government experience?
Just scratch Rhode Island. Just
Yeah.
take Rhode Island out.
Just take
leave
Rhode Island out
municipal.
and say municipal or
Yeah, that's
state
what we were
government
going to do, yeah.
experience.
Municipal or state government?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Put
I already
municipal-
scratched it out. so I
Put
thought that's
municipal
what
or
we were doing.
government.
Yeah, just cross out Rhode
Municipal
Island.
Don't
or?
say state.
Just take out Rhode Island.
No,
Ju-
I
yeah.
gotta tell you, Barrington picked up a guy that, he was a Navy captain who commanded a Navy base.
Right.
And it was federal, but, you know, it turned out they had a fire department and a police department and.
Right. I mean, that's
Actually, I
true.
think Portsmouth has a
Yeah.
I think
retired naval.
Navy guy
as well.
too.
Yeah, and the
Commander.
town finance guy.
Yeah,
So how do we,
municipal or government
Or government.
experience.
okay,
Municipal or
municipal
government
or government,
experience.
Yeah, municipal or
Or
government.
government.
government
You're correct,
experience.
yes.
There
That's
we
what I
go.
would say.
Excellent, Joe, thank you.
Familiarity
That's it for my
with
2 years. I did.
government finance?
I would,
I was right
yeah,
once.
I would take out government finance,
Or municipal, take out municipal? and
Take
just
out
with
government
finance?
finance.
Which one are we taking out?
So let me just read that sentence that started with Rhode Island. They'll take out Rhode Island. It would read as municipal or government experience, familiarity with government finance, and experience with labor relations and collective bargaining are desirable.
And,
That all in agreement?
Sounds good to me.
Like it.
and the other thing that I'd like to put in there, if there's the way that we can do this, although maybe we can weed them out with the planning board, is that, you know, I'd like somebody that's got at least, you know, 4 years of second-line management experience. We're looking at somebody who's going to manage department heads. I'm not sure that how I would feel about an applicant that had either limited management experience or who had only managed a couple of assistants. I think whether or not it's a requirement, but I think it's desirable to have someone who's an experienced second-line manager.
I would
Okay,
think
so
that
we-
that would fall under the
second
5 years administrative experience, though, no?
Say again, John?
Wouldn't that fall under the 5 years administrative experience requirement?
Well, you could still be
Oh,
5 years
yeah.
as a supervisory,
Yeah.
first-line management.
I mean, I would think that that would come out of our hiring discussions when we finally get to the interviews.
May I ask a question? Is
Yes.
the term second-line management,
Yeah,
is that a common phrase?
I don't think so.
I've never
Well,
heard of
it
it
is in
until
the corporate,
tonight.
I mean, in the corporate world, yes, maybe not in the municipal
why
government world, but I mean.
Can you say management experience? Would that work? That, it is different, administrative experience is different from management experience, but if the second line one, I've never heard of that.
Basically, it's someone who, you know, is not necessarily managing, you're managing managers.
Right.
You're not managing direct employees who may be assistants or individual contributors. You are managing managers. So
If-
you're,
And I'm sorry, but I'm not familiar with it, but if you follow the sentence that ends in, a 5 years administrative experience in a similar environment is also required, period. And then the next sentence, second line management experience preferred. I'm not familiar with
yeah.
the term. I
So
don't
ma-
know.
So
If you say management experience is preferred, if you leave it at that, people will know.
I'd actually, I think we could do that, but I'd say management experience is required then.
Isn't that a charter thing? To make it a requirement? Like,
Well, I think
like
you
I know
can-
with
you
the
can-
DPW director, it had to have an engineering degree, but that had to change in the charter, so.
How about something like, because you can have project managers, and you can have people managers. So is people management
Personnel management.
is preferred?
Yes,
Or personnel management experience preferred?
yes,
That's a better one, I think.
yes.
Yeah.
In the duties, In an application like this, can we put his duties are to manage fire chief, you know, have a
Well, that's
separate?
why you refer them to the charter when they call in and say, what's
But if
the
you
job
put it in the
description?
app, if we put it right on another small little line, say your duties will be, your responsibilities are, you can't do that?
There's too many.
In that case, I'm going to the bathroom.
Personnel
I think-
Can you say that
management
again? Yeah, personnel management.
is preferred.
I'd actually make it required. I mean, it's up to everybody else, but I would make it a requirement. I don't know, I would want to consider a candidate who's never managed anybody before.
Again, I have to say, requirement is in the charter, and I'd have a difficult time saying it's required.
Okay.
I have a similar concern.
Okay.
I think we could just kind of, I mean, as a group, sort of agree that, you know, when we
We're
develop our
probably
rankings, our interviewing process, like once everything comes
I
out
was
of the
gonna-
personnel board, then, you know, we can kind of put together our own profile and say, okay, these are what we're looking for.
I was just gonna say that when we interview the candidate,
Yeah.
we could ask that too, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that might, like, adding these requirements, or, you know, even adding all these, you know, preferential things might, you know, shorten the amount of net that we're casting.
But
I
you
think
really
it
do
goes
need
both ways.
you really
Yeah.
do need a personnel management type person.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not looking for a project manager. You're
Right.
looking for a person who will manage the personnel. It's critical to the town management that they know how to manage people.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that point. I'm just, I wonder if, you know,
Because there's
if
so
we
many-
just cast the net and see who comes in. I mean, if it happens to be 12 project managers, we throw the net back out again.
But the thing is, you also, it works both ways. You tip it, if you say personnel management preferred, to me, it's like, okay, you're looking at a higher level.
Yeah.
And that tips it to people that you don't want somebody who can just, do a small project thing. So it might, I'm thinking the
Yeah.
opposite, it might attract
Oh, okay.
more, but I don't know.
I'll defer to your expertise.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that far. It's a suggestion.
you have to understand the job itself involves managing department
Personnel,
heads.
yep.
It involves managing boards and commissions. It's not a project where a project manager's objective is to just get the job done and not necessarily care how they interact with people. So I think personnel management is preferred, covers that critical, I think it's a critical skill set that
So
you need as
let's-
a town administrator.
Let's fire it in there then.
Okay, so it would be we would add after, at least 5 years administrative experience in a similar environment is also required. We would add personnel management is preferred.
Yes.
Okay. Now we lost John. Do I,
We're men, you know.
If you're going to take this from something that's already existing, you might want to put the correct email address, because I don't think we have it.
Oops.
Iverton.
Tiverton.
Exactly. Oops, just to make sure we get everybody. It's the last.
Good catch, good catch.
You know, it might be worth looking to, since Barrington just did this and Portsmouth have recently hired ex-military. I know that there are some websites out there that are geared towards military officers who are leaving. I wonder if we would want
We'll
to
do a search and see, I'll
post.
contact Barrington and Warren and them and see where they went out and, try to, and Mr. DeSisto here is from Warren.
Well,
He
actually,
represents Warren.
actually from Barrington, but the fellow that they have there now, he retired, he moved to Barrington. He was originally an East Providence native, interviewed for the East Providence job. He was asked to do it. They didn't hire him. Good for him. He interviewed in Warren. He interviewed in Barrington. He got the Barrington job. So I think typically what you're going to find is with your military veterans, if they live here, they will apply for a job around here. I don't know if they'll move. If you go to the ICMA, you'd be surprised how many people around the country want to come to Rhode Island to manage. So
They have a board at the base where you could actually, you can do a pin-up on the board over there. A posted board, yeah. The guys, they come over there all the time.
They've been,
Okay.
we'll do.
So it's a place to put something up.
Okay, any more amendments? Do I have a motion to approve the advertisement as amended and advertise in, at minimum, Providence Journal, Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, ICMA, and I'd say check, the town clerk could poll some neighboring town clerks to see if there's any other options, and if there's any options for a military website that we could garner more applications. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yep.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
President, I'm going to change this out to that, I'll send it to you.
Yep. Yep, will do. Bids and requests for proposal, Chief Lloyd, request approval for purchase of 3 Scott Air Packs to Shipman Fire Equipment of Waterford, Connecticut for $18,604.50, a sole source distributor for Scott Aviation in the area.
Yes, ma'am. In the last budget, $19,000 was appropriated for Scott Air Pack replacement. We've tried to go out and look around to see if I could get bids anywhere else. It's a sole source. The only place I can purchase them, no matter what, is from shipments. I can't, there's a guy over in Massachusetts right over the line. He can't sell them to me. I have to go back to shipments. So it's sole source by Scott Aviation.
Do I have a motion? Thank you, Chief.
Motion that we purchase the Scott Air Packs.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was too easy, Chief.
Town Administrator announcements. He provided a memorandum on the National Incident Management System, NIMS for short, training for elected officials. Was it the consensus of the council that you wanted to take this training online at the last meeting, I believe? Or did you-
Someone
Yes.
suggested that we do that.
Or did you want to have an actual on-site course
On Thursday?
on Thursday?
I suggest we take it online.
Madam President, could I just add one thing to you, just to, not to cloud the water a little bit more? I had applied for a grant last year to get money to do this educational process for you and to do tabletops with you on that. I had just found out that that grant has been approved, so if you want to do it on a course, we can do it. I'm sorry, I just found out, so what can I say?
So, so what does this mean? That,
We can have a class done here for you, you can do it online if you want, but we can also extend it so you totally understand how NIMS work and do a tabletop exercise with you too.
I would like to play with the Matchbox cars.
Me too.
actually, I would like that, because I have taken the training online, and it really would be probably a lot better if we had visuals. Okay, so.
It's a much higher value add because you could set it up so that the people who are, you have some visibility into the EOC's operations, see all the paperwork we have to fill out and all the other decisions that need to be made to support that, so.
I will,
That'd be much
I'll put
higher
it all
use of time.
together, I'll get all the requirements that we need, and I'll make sure that the administrator gets them to forward them to the council president.
Very good, I like that.
How much
Thank you,
was it?
Chief.
$10,000.
Excellent. Sold. Do we
Madam
need a motion
President,
on this?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the chief's offer to put together the class for us, using his grant money that he just received.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Up to the minute news.
Good job, Chief.
I'll buy you a Happy Meal.
All right, council announcements, any? Town solicitor announcements, none. Town clerk items and announcements. We have scheduling of joint workshop with the planning board for comprehensive community plan discussion on Wednesday, February 8th at 7.
I'm just confirming it because it was already addressed with the council, and that is a date that works out for the planning board.
So I just have a question on that. So I've got this memorandum for December 28th. It also says we could address plans for the new Twin Rivers Casino at that same meeting, but that's not in, on the agenda. So is it just going to be now for the comprehensive plan discussion, or is it also going to be the Twin Rivers as well?
Well, if it's going to be Twin Rivers, they can add Twin Rivers to that. It's
It's
going to
not
be
like a big
noticed.
deal.
It's just setting the date here.
Okay.
For what the planning board has recommended. It
Okay.
says they can discuss that, but it's not. I
What?
don't have any agenda from them yet.
Oh, I thought, well, so I thought it was the,
I'm just kinda
you know,
setting
the
the date.
responses that got back from the community plan? I thought that's what that was about, but you're talking about its relation, is that in relation to the Twin Rivers? Or it's both?
It's the memo you have from the planning board.
Yeah.
That's what they want to meet on.
Okay.
So it's up to the
Comp plan.
planning board to
It's up to
set
what
the
it-
agenda.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll leave it up to them?
But we're
Yeah.
asking for, they were asking for that date. They confirmed it, they want you to confirm it so they know to
Okay.
schedule.
Okay.
Okay, next item is agenda for the January 30th meeting. We have,
The public input, it's not a public hearing, right? Just public input on the trash collection.
Yep.
But you said there were other things you might want.
I think it had to do with Stone Bridge abutment. I don't know
They
if they'll,
requested a meeting, do you want that on?
if they are amenable to that, if they have the information. If not, those are the only, that's the only thing that I can think of. Perhaps the Grinnell's Beach project, permitting.
Right, and that's going to be held at the high school.
Okay.
Okay?
Good. All right. Now moving to closed executive session. Mr. Edwards?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to go to closed executive session for Solicitor 42465A2, litigation, general auto.
Second. Yes.
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 Yes. Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we go to closed executive session for special counsel, town administrator, 42465A2, litigation, Four Corners.
Have a second?
You're good.
You have a second?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Madam President, I'd like to make a motion, we go to closed executive session, town administrator, 42465A5, disposition of town-held property, industrial park.
Do I have a second?
Second. Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
We are now in closed executive session.